this little palette for a whole book, and I was like, this is the most exciting thing in the world because I made
Wait a
it.
second. Wait a second. You have 2 daughters, right?
Yes, they're over there watching videos.
Yeah. I like the idea that you have 2 daughters, and you're like, this is the most important thing in the world. And you're holding an Altoid tin.
My pride and joy.
Yeah.
It's time for Gavin Doodle.
Hey everybody, it's Thursday night, and my mustache is long, and it's getting in my mouth too much, and so I might have to chop it next time. Blah, 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 blah. That's how I'm starting tonight. I also did not start up my feed to watch, so give me a second. I'm going to get close. I'm going to chat with you like this. So we have a lovely night ahead of us. I was just talking with our guest, who will be joining in just a second. Let me see, is that feed up and running? There we go. It's perfect. So a couple things of note. We are back, I guess, as of last week, back to the nightly sessions. So this will be happening at 8 o'clock, roughly. I don't think there's any change in that until I have spring break. And we have like one day that it's shifted off of that. But 8 o'clock, we are on tonight with a amazing illustrator and author. And I have a real funny sort of connection that I want to see what happens when I mention it with this artist, Ani Castillo. Who wrote the book Ping, as well as, I don't even know if it's in the back of that one, I don't think it is, the book Spark, which is sort of in the series here. And then this book as well, People Are My Favorite Places. And these are these like really beautiful, I don't know if people know these, but Ping is especially sort of, is this really like, how do I put this? A celebration of emotions and understanding what people are going. There's like empathy. There's all sorts of things that happen in this through a really simple text and imagery. Something that I am not capable of doing. My stuff gets way too complicated. But just these like really sweet moments, and it talks about sort of things that you can do in life and how to like. It's almost like a great psychology primer for going through life. And whatnot. And so it's got these really cute characters, etc. And then People Are My Favorite Places is in that same sort of vein, but more about, and I'll talk to Ani about this as well, or Annie about this as well, but the idea of, I think this book, if I remember correctly, came from the pandemic, and I'd have to do the math on it. I remember reading somewhere, something of the sort, and that idea of like, people are the thing that are important, and going to people is the important thing. And so we'll get into all of that. But tonight we're going to have a lovely session. Again, I will post to YouTube. I forgot to post last week's. Shh, don't tell anybody. So don't tell Dan and Jason. But I will be posting that this weekend. I forget why I got caught up and didn't do it, but I, for some reason, forgot. And so let our special guest in, and we'll get going for the night. I have a fun thing that I'm going to draw, and I'll explain as we get there. It's really kind of dumb, but let me let our guest in. So here we go. I'm going to send the invite, Annie. I always send the invite, and then I take a sip of water. That's the rules. Okay, I see Annie has joined.
Oh,
hello.
hi.
We're going to make this artificial, like I haven't talked to you already. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you again.
Yeah, this is the first time ever seeing your face. Huh?
I like your mustache.
Thank you for joining. I know that we have known about your work for a while, and then we had a fellow artist reach out and said you should have Annie on, and I was like, oh yes, certainly. And so we found a time, and we were happy to have you on. I was just singing the praises of your books.
Oh.
And was I don't know if you were listening to it.
Yes.
Is this one was pandemic, right?
You're right.
This one came about.
Yeah. I when it was the pandemic was happening, one day I wrote in my journal that I didn't miss places. What I missed were the people, because people are my favorite places to visit. That's what I wrote during the pandemic. So that's from that sentence is that I wrote that whole book. And
the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the concept.
So I also I am someone who, and I don't know if you do this, but I think it's called the Chiron or something along that lines. This bit at the beginning of the book, I tend to read these, and it's said in here, and this is funny. I was like, the illustrations for the book were done in watercolor and ink and watercolor paper. I wasn't caught off guard by that because I understood I had seen the visuals. But then the next sentence caught me. This book was edited by Megan Tingley.
Yeah.
I was taught by Megan Tingley at school. She was, I took one picture book class when I was in school, and Judy Sue Goodwin Sturgis and Megan Tingley were the teachers of the course. And so this is 1998 maybe. A long time ago. And I remember, I don't even remember what she looks like 100%. I think I've seen pictures of her since. But I was like, when I saw that name, I was like, oh, that rings some bells. And I was like, why do I know that name? And then all of a sudden I connected that, like, oh, that was my teacher back in the day.
That's crazy. She's amazing. She's so cool. Yeah, she's like, and she's beautiful.
She's like a big head honcho at Little Brown.
Little Brown, yeah. Now she's the publisher, I believe. Something big, but she's also, honestly, that first editor I've ever had, and I think she's a dream editor. Yeah. Dream. Like she was so amazing. She really helped me like follow these books, like the message that I wanted it to be, because my book is a little bit different. It has more pages than other books like of the sort. It has 40 pages instead of 32, so that was a big problem, but she left it like that because everybody's like, oh, it needs to be 32, and I'm like, if we cut 10 pages off, it's not gonna be the same book. Yeah. So she was like, okay,
for 40.
Yeah. So then it went out with 40, and also she really helped me because English is my second language, so I needed some support just to believe in myself, kind of, and also. She told me one thing. She told me, Annie, you think you're an illustrator, but you are a very good storyteller. That's your strength. And I'm like, really? No way. I didn't know. So I feel it's one of those meetings with people that they really like change your life. It was with Megan Tingley. And as an editor, she's very gentle because I've never, as I say, as a newspaper cartoonist, you never have editors. Like, you just do whatever you want and you draw whatever crazy stuff anything. And it just goes out like that. Nobody says anything. So it was like really cool to see how nurturing she is of the spirit of the writer. And I think a good editor is like that. They just let your spirit speak for itself, and they just let your voice. And she read the way that I write is a little bit different because I don't speak English perfectly. But she respected that, and she called my quirks Annieisms. And she was just the dream to start with, because at the beginning I was like all rebellious. I'm like, I don't want to change anything. It's perfect. Yeah. But then she was like, Annie, well, and then she helped me through it, and she's the best, honestly. Yeah.
It's one of those ones where, like, it's been, now I do the math, 27 years since I ever talked to Megan, but I do remember her being like, allowing me to experiment and do some really wild stories that didn't make any sense. Like, I wasn't following a formula for some of the assignments. I remember there's one that I show my students at the end of the year wherein we had to retell Goldilocks and the Three Bears or some like nursery rhyme. And instead I did a story about a raisin who invades the house of three robots. Why?
Wow.
I have no idea. Right. But that was okay. And she helped through the editing process and she was fine with it. And she didn't like shoot it down as like, this doesn't make any sense. Aww. I look at it now and go, it doesn't make any sense. But I remember she was very supportive.
That's so special. Yeah. Like, you had such a nurturing person as like your, like a first encounter with writing. Is very lucky that we had her, honestly.
Yeah.
So now you and I are like siblings.
We're long distance cousins of some sort.
We're related. We've been nurtured by Megan Tingley.
So for everybody watching, I already said this to Annie, but the internet can be finicky, and so if it goes down, we'll hop back on. And I said to you as well that you don't have to stay the whole time if you don't want. You're allowed to sort of work to your heart's desire, and then if that is early, that's okay. If it's late, that's okay. And this is meant to be just a conversation, and I'll have a feed up here. In fact, I should put that in here. Ask us anything. Ask us anything. And so I'll keep an eye on the feed that I have running in the background to sort of see if there's questions that pop up. And so we're here to help sort of answer and give thoughts and recommendations, and again, subjective. There are personal thoughts, necessarily fact. Let's put it that way. And then the other questions I have for you, these are the really important questions. One, I know you're a watercolor and colored pencil and things of the sort. And so I need from you, because my wife documents this as well, but materials. What are you using for materials tonight? And can you be specific, like brands, if there's brands that you love or things of the sort?
So, I mean, I have my color pencils here, the Prismacolor Premier. These are so nice. Like, so these are, I've been using it since I was a child, My parents got them for me when I was really little.
That's not the same set, right?
No.
Okay. It's like you're really not using them very much if you got them when you were a child.
For a special occasion. I had another collection, but have you tried them? They're like drawing with butter. They're so delicious and like buttery and creamy and scrumptious. So those are the ones that I use the most. The Palomino pencil, I'm sure you're very familiar with. Everybody
is that the
loves this
Blackwing pencil?
Yeah.
See, okay. I'm gonna pencil challenge you. I have Prismacolor, which I think is it is very buttery on paper, and I guess it depends on what you're doing. Because I'm working on paint. I actually like these Caran d'Ache pencils. But they're harder to come by.
I didn't know they come in pencils. I have Caran d'Ache little bars, like the little sticks, and I adore them.
Yeah, they have. These are Supracolor soft, and they also make a pastel.
Where
pencil.
do you get those?
I happen to get them at a small little art store. If you want to travel up to Portland, Maine, they have them there. Or down, I guess, because you're in Canada. But Prismacolors are great, but not always for what I need to do. But I have like a bunch of different brands, and depending on like what material, I change it up. But what were you saying? The Blackwing pencil. Everybody claims that that's like the best pencil in the world, and I am not a pencil. I'm not saying you are. I'm not a pencil snob. Give me a pencil. I don't care what it is. I'll work with it. But everybody claims that those Blackwing pencils are amazing, and I've never used one. And at some point, I need to try one just to see what happens. Like, what is it that's so special about it? But why do you love the Blackwing?
Because it's really dark and buttery too. Like it's just like black, and it's so soft, and it just slides through the paper, and it's like really dark and rich. And once you have tried one of those, it's very hard to go back to regular pencils.
Do you sketch with pencil a lot?
Sometimes I do first sketches, and then I do like the blue pencil sketches for the good one.
Yeah, the non-photo.
Yeah, the non-photo, that's the one that I use mostly. I'm working actually in a graphic novel, and for that actually I use just like little mechanical pencils. So for like the little quick sketches. And then for the clean page, I always start with the blue pencil, because then you don't have to erase it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just made a new book, and I want to introduce you to the most exciting thing in my life right now.
Okay.
That is this. Have you ever heard about this?
What? Just Altoids?
No. So you open it.
I'm like, yeah.
And look at this.
Wait, what?
I made it.
Yeah, it's a little palette inside the Altoid tin.
Isn't it so cute? So I feel like I made it myself. With this, I illustrated a whole entire book with this delicious thing. And then it's just like, so I made it with polymer clay. I just made the little holes and put paint in them. And I made my own palette with my favorite colors. And you can carry it everywhere, and it's tiny, and it's so fun.
Everybody thinks you have fresh breath all the time too, because you have an Altoid tin. So I will say, when you first held that up, I didn't know, like the polymer clay thing, I understand now. Like I get, like, that's what you put in there. I couldn't tell that's what it was, so
I know.
I was like, oh, you just put some paint in a tin. Like, you're like, I made this. I'm like,
isn't this like the most delightful and endearing watercolor set?
There are some artists that will make a little canvas or a little like piece of watercolor paper and put inside of it.
Oh.
And so they sit there with just the tin and paint directly on the little like image on the inside.
That is so cute.
I use too much water. This is my water dish that I use all the time.
Oh my God,
and so
that's big.
yeah, it's a big chunky thing. This will date me. This is for anybody that's out there. If you want to know materials, it's my favorite thing in the world. It's plastic, so it doesn't break if I ever drop it. But what it is, do you remember CDRWs?
Oh yes,
Or
yes.
you buy a stack of blank
Yeah.
CDs. It's the lid to a 100-pack or a 50-pack of those.
Wow.
And so I've had this since that was a thing. It's no longer a thing. So tell me, because you work with watercolor, like, are you working with watercolor tonight?
I could. I didn't know because you say doodle, so I was like, are we supposed to doodle? I could do it.
I doodle.
Sure.
Well, my doodle is doing collage. It doesn't make any sense, the term doodle. But what I was going to ask is, brand-wise, because I know that you love watercolor, is there a brand that you, for those that are out there going like, I want to capture the Ani color palette, or I want to capture those things, is there a brand that you lean on?
Yes, Holbein.
Okay.
I think Holbein, and then Daniel Smith, I think.
Okay.
Those ones. And then also something that is like another water. Those are the ones that are in my palette. That is my favorite colors. But I also have these Japanese ones. Have you seen these ones? The big palettes that I don't remember the name.
Yeah, that's not koi, right?
No, it's another thing. Kuretake.
Okay, yeah. I've seen that. There's that type of palette I've seen, and there's a lot of them are like from Japan or Korea. Yeah. That like palette setup. These like big chunks of color. And then what about? I know that you work on watercolor paper, right?
Oh yeah.
What's the paper that you normally?
I wasn't prepared for watercolor, but like the ones that I use mostly, I have everything here.
Keep in mind, I am not expecting you to use watercolor tonight. I just think it's one of those things where people might like to know what kind of paper you use.
So this is the one I use, Fabriano, and it's the one I've been using for years. All of my books are made in this paper.
Gotcha.
Because it's smooth, and I like it when it's like really smooth and it's very so when you scan it, you don't see all the little holes. I adore painting with the watercolor with the holes, but when you scan the paper, you don't want to see the holes. So this one is really smooth. So you don't need to erase the holes.
Yeah, you don't see the texture. So it's Is it hot press or is it what does it say?
Yeah, it's hot press.
Okay.
That's why it's so smooth. But this is the paper I've used for all of my books, and I just did another. I did another book recently. I finished a book that I started 4 years ago, and it's all watercolors, and it's all in this paper. And yeah, so that one it's just out with my agents right now. But I was just using this little palette for a whole book, and I was like, this is the most exciting thing in the world because I made
Wait a second. You have 2 daughters, right?
Yes, they're over there watching videos.
Yeah, I like the idea that you have 2 daughters, and you're like, this is the most important thing in the world. An Altoid tin.
My pride and joy.
Yeah, the thing that really matters in my life. Nothing else is. So, and then I guess the other question I have for you, and maybe, my wife says, what is the third brand? Holbein, Karataki, and it was. Is
it called Daniel Smith? I don't remember exactly.
Let me hold on. I'm gonna look and see if I have it over here.
Something with a Daniel.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the name of the brand because I know that I have some somewhere. Because if I remember correctly, they make a. Oh no! Wait, maybe I'm thinking of a different brand. Hold on one second. Let me look and see if I can find it. There is. I have a whole thing of gouache over here that I never ever touch anymore. Regular gouache, not no, that's
acrylic gouache.
Yeah, not acrylic gouache, but I'm trying to find. There's a brand in particular that it's not Da Vinci. Oh, it's not M. Graham, is it?
No.
No. Okay, I'd have to look in.
Some Daniel guy.
Okay. Okay,
some
sure.
kind of Daniel.
Just
yeah.
There you go, Lauren. My wife is Mrs. Hoppy, so if you see that on the feed, that's my wife.
I can send it to you afterwards. I even have photos because I did this palette and I loved it so much. And I'm like, I need to be able to recreate it. You know, your friend Eric Fan, the one who recommended you. I gave him one of these for his birthday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope he's using it.
I also so would love to see him open it up and go like, my birthday, Altoids, great. So
Like,
what do you think about my breath? Okay, so the last question is, what are you actually making tonight? What are you going to doodle?
I don't know. I thought we were just gonna improv.
We can't. This is what I drew ahead of time because I always make collage. This is what I drew ahead of time, and it's gonna say. I guess for Valentine's Day, it's gonna say feast your eyes on those toasty buns. Oh. And it's a hamburger with a butt and a pickle saying it. I don't know why. I drew it. I'm working on a book right now, and I was trying to design some characters for it, and I drew something that looked like a hamburger. And I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. And then I thought about buns, and so I gave him a butt. To me, that was like, my wife said, you should do that next time. So that's what I'm doing tonight.
I love that.
So I just think it's funny that, like, the hamburger bun is not the buns that we're talking about. He actually has a real butt. So
he has two nice buns.
Yeah, toasty buns. It's not going to look like this, but I drew this 2 minutes before I got on the phone call with you.
Okay.
So,
I honestly didn't know what like if there's like a plan of drawing anything or anything like that. So I thought, the whole day I've been working on my graphic novel, and I'm like, it's all ink. If I can introduce you to another thing that I'm adoring lately,
sure.
Right? This pen. So what is it called? Kaweco Sport. So this is what I've been using also for everything, because I'm getting stressed out getting rid of so many plastic pens. Yeah. And I used to use the architects, like the pen that the architects use for drawing, but this one is very excellent. And I illustrated the whole book using this pen and watercolors. So it has like these little.
You buy cartridges or.
Oh, that's the cool thing. You don't buy cartridges. You can. It's like a syringe. You fill it with ink.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm trying to reduce so much waste of plastic. Yeah. So these like I use it for writing. I use it for drawing. I use it for everything, for painting. I can show you maybe one of the illustrations that I made for my book recently. Do you notice how easy we're finding all of our random things? Yeah. We're so organized. We're like, oh, let me show you this obscure object. But let me, like, for example, okay, this is the little character of my new book. And so I do the watercolor, and then I go around with the ink, and it's with this one. It's called Kaweco Sport, or Kaweco Sport.
I was going to ask in particular, do you do the inks first and then the watercolors afterwards? But you're penciling first, then doing watercolor, and then doing ink?
Yeah, I forgot. No, I think I do. I think I do the ink first.
Okay.
And then the watercolor. But first I do a crappy sketch, like really terrible. Doesn't look like, it's just to get an idea how it's gonna look. But then I do the blue pencil here, and then I do the ink, and then I go with the watercolor. So the watercolor needs to be really transparent so it doesn't cover the line.
Yeah.
And I think it looks really cool. I really like it. Now I'm getting excited with all my stuff. We should just keep taking our toys out.
We should. Actually, we should switch for all the people going like, we're here to watch you work.
Sorry,
we should switch to the work.
Yeah,
so why don't we do this? This is going to be the hardest part of the night. Is going to be switching your camera down to the downshoot. So why don't we switch cameras? I'll watch the feed and make sure that it's all set up okay, and then we can just start working and talking about anything and everything.
I see a question here from Fashion.
There's already a question for you. So let's Fashion la. Says, do you ever doodle with no plan, or are you mostly always drawing and painting with a specific purpose?
Good question. So I do. Sometimes I just, and a lot of my pages of my sketchbooks and everything is just actually, it's almost like processing things, just like doodling, and just like almost, it's almost like an evolution of when we used to like call in the phone. And then, when you're chatting in the phone and you're just like doodling. And that's like, for example, this is where lots of my little cartoons come from, because I just start doing little characters, and then I start like writing down things that I'm thinking about. So Yeah. Like these, like for example, just a thought that I have. Think about it. You and I could have easily never met. Ah. So
and those
and it's
just
just
turn into bigger and broader things.
sometimes I just scan them just like that, and then they turn into a cartoon.
Um,
And sometimes I just painting around with no. Oh, there is Eric! Yay!
oh yeah, Eric. Okay.
So yeah, and but a lot of the time I do have a concept that I'm doing. Look at this. So I've been experimenting with religions lately. I've been trying to be Jewish. I've tried to be Buddhist. I've tried to be Anglican. I've been just trying religions. So I was gonna do a cartoon about the religions that I've been trying. You can see there like the Virgin Mary and
Oh,
Jesus,
the
and then
on.
the cross. So I was gonna draw all this stuff like the religions that I tried, but then I forgot to finish. So
you can do it tonight. You can sketch tonight. So,
we'll see what we do.
So why don't you set up your camera? I will watch and set up my camera and make sure that we're all set up okay. And then we just start into questions and chatting, and wherever it goes, it goes. Eric,
sounds good.
Eric says hello. He says, "Hey guys."
Hi, Eric.
Okay, so here I'm gonna switch my camera and get it all set up and get us going. So as you set up, because I know that this may take a hot second here, but what I want to find out a little bit from you is sort of about your process, because I do know that like when I watch your work online and see all the stuff that you post, there is a sense that there's like this journalistic element that comes from it.
Yeah.
You know, like for some people it's there's a sketchbook and you draw in your sketchbook and that is where the purest form of the artwork is, and like you need to be precise in your sketchbook and whatnot. But I get the sense, and I could be wrong, that when you work, it's more of a like you said, like thoughts and journaling that happens that ends up being the what do I want to say, the precipice on which you build illustrations or ideas. And can you tell me a little bit about your process? Like, how do you come up with ideas? How do you get is it truly that they all come from sort of a doodle and a sketch, or are any of them written out first and then managed? What's give me the lay of the land.
So I'm just setting up here. It's a little bit of a let's see, because it looks a little bit dark, but here does it look dark for you, or is it just because of the little comments? No,
it looks okay to me. Okay, I don't see a major. I mean, obviously there, like, I have shadows on mine. It just depends on what angle I have things at. So we'll see once you start drawing. If you start drawing the lightest thing in the world, then yeah, it's gonna be dark. But right now, I think it'll probably be fine.
So what was your question again? I was distracted.
No, it's fine.
All of this.
The question was sort of talk me through your process, because again, like, I'm someone who likes to, now I'm trying to write as much as possible before I do the artwork. And that didn't come naturally to me of any sort. And I'm wondering, because it seems to me that your work tends to have this like journalistic or this almost like you're pulling from a diary and expanding the idea. Is that actually the process, or is there a different process in which you write your books?
I think it has been different with everyone. Every single book has been a little bit different. I've never in my life drawn while I talk, so I'm like, this is gonna be interesting. The eyes are different size because of that.
You'll get used to it. You will get used to it.
Like, it's like driving and talking when you're learning how to drive. It's like, I hope I don't crash this car, you know. So,
wait. Let's back up for a second. Did you crash a car when you were learning to drive?
No, actually, because nobody was talking to me.
Okay.
Thank God.
Good.
But I used to ask everybody, please don't talk to me. For years, I couldn't talk. So we're just warming up here because I've never done this. So for my books, it's a different process than for my cartoons, I will say, because my books are a concept first, and then I grow that concept, and then I start writing it, and then I start drawing it, and then I start just developing the idea. but it happens both at the same time. It's almost like once I meet the character of the book, the character starts telling me kind of what to do. Like Ping, at the beginning, Ping name used to be Squareface.
Yeah,
the original. Yeah.
I saw a blog about that, or I think it was Substack or something that you had.
The original name of Ping was Squareface Hates Parties. And then when I started writing that book, and it was about Squareface learning, because I used to have really terrible social anxiety. Parties were the biggest, most scary thing for me, and speaking to strangers was like the scariest thing in my whole life. I couldn't think of anything more scary. And then at some point, after a lot of therapy, I started being able to love parties. And then I asked myself, like, what if I teach people how to enjoy parties the same way that I did?
Yeah.
So that's when I started thinking about that book. And that book, it was supposed to be a manual to enjoy parties. So at some point, when I was writing it, I was like, what is one of the things that helps me enjoy parties? And I just started coming up with ideas, for example, focusing on other people instead of focusing on myself, focusing on them, asking them questions, and not thinking about me all the time. Not thinking about me, that was very hard, because I think social anxiety at some point is an obsession with oneself.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Like I have some social anxiety in certain situations, and it is that, like, people are judging me, they're looking at me,
yeah,
they're thinking about all the movements or all the things that you're doing. In reality, it's like that's not the most people don't notice or care.
No, exactly. Most people are just like, what, I did a cartoon about that. And I did it for my daughter because she was little and she was always thinking that everybody was thinking about her. And then the cartoon was basically a lady screaming, everybody's thinking about me. But then you could see the bubble of thoughts of everybody. Yeah. And somebody was thinking about pizza, another person was thinking about cats, and another person was thinking about butts.
Butts. That's so unclassy, and you're not allowed to talk about that on here. That's improper language, yeah.
Well, no, you're just talking. Sorry, buns.
Oh yeah. That's it. You change the T's to N's and S's, and you're good. No, I like reading through Ping. I was fascinated by, like, and this is gonna sound weird in probably the way that I phrase it, but the simplicity of the message. That it's not a complicated, like, you have to understand this huge narrative thread in order, like, it's not like there's a narrative arc that is really dramatic and there's this crescendo of imagery and things of the sort. It really is just sort of like bare bones, in the sense of, like, these are the things that are important to consider in sort of enjoying life and understanding other people's perception of what they're doing and things of the sort. And so I was very happy to sort of read through that, because it is, again, the thing that I am not good at, which is a small amount of words to cover a large idea. Yeah. I go the other direction. So when you're working on the books, do you have a process that requires a more nuanced approach in writing? Like, I must say, first of all, I am going to steal what you just said when you said, when I first meet the character. That is great, because I've never been able to describe that to someone. I always say, well, I got to draw the character in order to know what it looks like in order to do this thing. But the simplification of just meeting the character is a nice way to phrase that is completely understandable and people get it.
Isn't it true how it goes? Basically, you're like, we're these bundles of flesh. We are bundles of flesh who move and who think and everything, and then we are given art materials, and then we spend time with these materials, and from that time that we spend with the materials, something materializes out of nowhere. It's just like, it's magic, and then you have this new thing that nobody has ever seen before, and And I just find it such a spiritual journey to create something, because when you create something, it's almost like you're grabbing it from the universe or something,
Yeah.
and it's just showing up. And to me, even when I do my cartoons, like I'm always doing new characters. My cartoons are always a new character, and for me, it's almost like, well, they're being born, these little characters or something, out of nowhere. And
Is there when you make the characters, and I guess this is probably maybe not everybody's situation, but do you hear their voices talking to you? Not like hey, you're crazy, and you hear voices in your head, but like when I draw a character, a lot of times I add an accent to it, or like
oh,
like they might have a southern drawl, and so they sound like a little bit like they're from Texas or something of the sort. Or sometimes it's like one of the ones that I tend to lean on is like a carnival barker, uh, who's out there saying, step inside, see the blah blah blah. That the pace in which they speak sort of tells me who they are and how I should try to write that. I'm wondering, do you have that same thing? Like, is it just a visual? That's how you meet them, or is it a they sort of speak to you in their language, and you learn to sort of I don't even know how to say that. Like you adapt to the way that they talk.
it's so funny because I actually have never thought about that.
Oh,
I've never thought about that because I remember years ago I read that if you watch a Woody Allen movie, everybody's Woody Allen in his movies. Everybody talks like him, and everybody has the same kind of voice, and everybody's just another Woody Allen, just with boobs or with blonde hair, or like, or it's like an old person or a young person, but he's all Woody Allen. Sometimes I feel like a lot of my characters, they have my voice.
okay, that's.
I don't know. I don't know if that's like megalomania or something, but I had never thought about it. And also because I read my books so many times to people, and I do story time with my books, so
Yeah.
they end up having my voice, but I suppose they all have a Mexican accent.
I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean to say, does every one of them have your accent? No, but just the idea of like I'm drawing this burger with toasty buns tonight, and to me, the way that it says it, not necessarily the character says, "Hey, I have toasty buns," but more so, there's a tone in which it's not, feast your eyes on those toasty buns. It's not monotone. There's a, hey, toast your eyes on those toasty buns. Like there's a tone that has to happen with it. And so if this hamburger were to say something like it to me, so again, for those that weren't here when I mentioned, it's going to be something of this sort with a hamburger with a nice butt and a pickle that's celebrating this nice butt.
Oh.
And so to me, this hamburger is a little sort of like quiet, and it's the pickle that's got this like says feast your eyes on, and there's a tone that comes out from that. And like looking at you draw your characters, I can sort of envision that they all have their own sort of like nuance to their voice, but maybe they don't. Maybe they all sound exactly the same.
When you say it like that, it's I do think about some moments when, because right now I'm writing a book about dating, for example, and it's a book about my adventures in dating, my adventures that I've been having, adventures, misadventures, etc., in the dating world after I got divorced. And every chapter is a different relationship that I've had, and I guess this is the first time that I'm telling a story that is outside of me, because it's all these men that I've dated, and it's the first time that I recall. So I've never drawn talking. This is harder than it seems. I feel like I want to crash.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
Like if my characters are the form, is because I'm talking. So, but so it's the first time that I'm actually having to speak their voices, you know, and I do when I read them, they all sound a little bit different because some people have warmer language and some people are colder and some people are more intellectual and some people are more just like emotional, and it's the first time that I'm having, and I think that's why I'm finding it very challenging but really fun challenge. You know, challenges are really fun sometimes, and this is a great challenge. I love it. In fact, writing this book has been such an escape for me because I get to be outside of myself for a little bit and just hanging out with my past boyfriends. So I'm just like revisiting the stories and going those places. And
so I have a question for you then.
Yeah.
Are you single right now?
Yeah, dating.
Okay. The reason I ask is 2 weeks, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had on Anna Susbauer, who is in Germany, and she is the first one to put out a call to any singles out there during the session.
Wow.
So I'm just giving you the opportunity right now that if you want to pitch to anybody out there, a partner that you're looking for, it's going up on YouTube later.
Wow.
Not that you need to. I'm joking, of course. You don't need to do that. But
sounds promising.
Yeah. Maybe there's someone out there watching who goes, "Hey, you know what? This all resonates with me, and I need to find someone." I'm already taken. I got a lovely wife upstairs, so don't even come at me. The world. I'm telling this to the world. Don't come at me and say I saw those tasty buns. But okay, sorry, that was a side joke I had to get in there.
No, it's good. It's good. So your show is actually inviting singles to mingle.
Yeah. I didn't know it until Anna Susbauer said that, but now it's it's the new hip place for singles to find love.
That's not a bad place.
When in writing that book, is that book intended for? I mean, obviously, it's talking about ex-boyfriends and things of the sort. Mm-hmm. Is that writing it with the intention that it's for adults? Is it for?
Yeah.
Okay, because there could be something about sort of like love and relationships that could be a kid-friendly thing. I don't know, but
no. This is actually a very, very adult.
Okay.
So children, don't read it, please. And in fact, I was very worried and concerned about working on it because I was scared. What is this going to mean for my career or something? Because I've always done. It's like, you know what? To be honest, my books are not for children, and I didn't write them for children. So that's the beginning of this. I was a cartoonist for 14 years for the newspaper. When you're a cartoonist for the newspaper, you write cartoons thinking this is going to be for a child from 6 years old to 106 years old. Like, everybody needs to get something out of it because the newspaper, everybody reads the newspaper at all ages. So my whole life, I always worked as a cartoonist. And when I did my first book, Ping, I actually wrote it for everybody. I didn't write it for children. But when I was starting to pitch it, then people told me that it needed to belong to a category or to a box, that it needed to fit in a box. That's the thing you keep hearing in publishing. It needs to fit into a box, and I wanted my book to be philosophy. That was my idea. My book needs to be a philosophy book, but nobody will buy it as a philosophy book, and that's why I ended up publishing as a children's book, and a lot of adults keep finding it. Like, it was in TV in Japan. Like, it got really big in Japan for like a couple of days. It was #1 in Amazon because it was in TV in Japanese. Because an adult found it, a famous lady found it, and she read it on TV.
I mean, in a way, and I you know, this is gonna sound, well, no, I don't think it's gonna sound bad at all. I don't read adult books. I read picture books. Like, the last time I read a book for an adult was ages ago. And it's not to say that I don't like, it's not that I need a book that has pictures in it. I can read a novel and things of the sort, but it's something wherein it is the world, like the short form of a picture book. There are so many of them that are so well written and beautiful and things of the sort that, like, I think to call them children's books may be a bad name for them in some sense, that they are, young at heart, but in reality, everybody can read one of those and not be somehow like it's not inferior to an adult book of any sort.
I agree, and there lots of quote unquote children book authors, they're starting to get really philosophical now these days, and they have always been, to be honest. But like the problem that I find is that I worry that what if my book doesn't reach as much people as it should because it's published as 3 to 5 year olds, and I'm like, really? Like, my book is for everybody, and the people who actually find it and like go crazy for it, they tend to be adults.
Is that? Do you think? I mean, it's done well. The Ping book has done really well with especially, like you said, around the world. Like, I've seen different versions of it and whatnot online. But do you feel like it is missing an audience right now?
I think I wish it was marketed for adults as well.
Is it?
That does, but it has done well. But I do feel like boxing it in as a children's book only.
Yeah.
It has prevented people from just finding it, because I imagine if it was in different places that, like, I don't know, Urban Outfitters, like, those gift books or something. I wish, to be honest, I still have hopes for Ping that is gonna get reprinted in some other format so some other people can find it, because I love that it's helping children, and I wish it could help adults too, because when I wrote it, and I not only wrote it, I became obsessed, like possessed. This book needs to be out there, and I started pitching it. I pitched it to 80 people before I found anybody who wanted it, and nobody actually wanted it from my pitches. I got an agent because a friend of mine had an agent, and he introduced me to her. Whoops, now it's like this blog here. Let's see.
Is that the same agent you have today?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So
that's Transatlantic.
Really awesome.
Is that right?
Transatlantic. You know her?
I do.
Why?
Why do I know Transatlantic? Because it's my job to know this stuff.
Oh, cool.
It's my job. So there's a couple.
What's your job? You're a writer.
I'm more of an artist than a writer. Let's put it that way. But because of doing this Gab and Doodle series, I have on people that have all sorts of agents, and then I also do mentorships with people that are looking to break into the industry of kidlit.
Okay.
And so there's lots of conversations about agencies and what's out there, and who they're, who's repped by who and whatnot. And so I've picked up a lot of, like, oh, this agent is with this person and this person's with that agent. This agency is, has changed hands, and I'm no expert in it of any sort, but I know of a lot of different names because of that aspect.
Okay. So that's my agent. She's really nice. And I have 2 agents at that agency. I have Samantha is my main agent, but I also have a picture book agent, Amy, and they both work together. And Amy is the one who got me the contract with Little Brown.
Yeah.
So they're a very dream team.
So when you got Pink, was that with? So you didn't. Wait. Okay. So I guess I'm confused. You were shopping around Ping to agents or to publishers?
I was shopping everybody. I tried to ship it to Oprah. I was like, whomever finds it first, help.
Yeah.
So I pitched it to everybody.
Did you get a response from Oprah?
No, I didn't. And actually, I don't even remember where I sent it. I just sent it to a place where I thought she would be, but I don't know where it was. It's what I'm feeling. I was feverish. I'm like, this book needs to be out there because it's gonna help so many people. It's gonna help people, and when I get like that, I'm crazy. And this just happened recently with a book that I just wrote, that I'm like, this book needs to be out there, and I wrote a book, the one that I was showing you, a little illustration, that is about the time when my grandma passed away during the pandemic.
Oof.
And yeah, it was very sad, because at the time, it was when nobody knew what was happening at the the beginning of the pandemic, and nobody knew anything. It was just, we were just trying to figure things out, and nothing, like, we didn't know about the germs, there were no tests, nothing, we didn't know anything. It was just terror everywhere. And at that point is when my grandma got sick in the retirement home, and she passed away, and nobody was able to be there with her. Nobody was able to even spend time with her or anything, or nothing. We didn't get to say goodbye. And then after she passed away, I wasn't able to even go see my dad, and she had just lost her best friend,
Yeah,
and
that's sad.
it was very sad.
Did she pass away because of COVID specifically, or was it?
The thing is, we will never know, because at the time there were no tests, and this is the little character of the book, this little bunny.
Well, it's not this. I was gonna say, it's funny, but I was gonna say, what's rewarding is a better way to put it. I just use the word "what's funny," and that's the wrong context here. But one of the things I think is really nice about the way that you make work and the artwork that sort of you are known for is it transcends the idea that or I guess, how do I put this? You are dealing with characters that are not really people; they're ideas. Is the best way to put it. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, your characters are not quite, they're humanoid, but they're also not like a person that walks down the street next to you. It's something other than that. And so, like, capturing the emotion, or capturing the philosophy, or whatever it is that you're trying to get across, because you're not dealing with a specific person, you're dealing with sort of these concepts. They sort of play well together. And it lends itself to that. It's one of the things I've been telling mentors recently, is that sometimes they need to get less literal, and to draw something that is untangible.
Are you mentoring people?
I have a couple that I'm doing right now. I did some over the winter break. I always kind of do it during breaks, where it's people that, some of them are already published, some of them are trying to get published, some of them are just starting out their art career. And so we have conversations, and then one of the things that shows up is there's a lot of folks who love to draw characters, but they don't, the concept side is hard. And so, like, one of the challenges I throw at them is to get rid of the idea of trying to draw a character and try to draw an idea instead. And so, like, you draw the equivalent of anxiety. Well, that might be represented by a series of scribbles versus a character living anxiety. And to me, that's where you sort of succeed and excel, is that idea of, like, your characters are inherently, and I am like spitballing this, so don't take this as fact, but I think your characters are, they go beyond just a figure, and they become something else.
Thank you. Yeah. And I like that, because I always feel very troubled about what gender to choose for a character for a book, because I'm like, what gender should it be? And then I always feel guilty because my characters are all white, because the paper is white.
Yeah.
What do I do? The paper is white, but then I feel like it's less of a, when you're not making a human, like, it can be just anything, and then you don't have to feel like guilty. And I don't know. With pink, you don't know if it's a boy or a girl or what it is. It's just a blob.
Well, that's I mean, that's why, like, does it need to be gendered? Can it be just the idea and purely that?
Yeah.
Are those kind of like things where I think, again, when you get into that, one of the things, like, you have these characters that have these like body suits, is the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
They're these little suits that imply that there is a figure in there, but I think they're bigger than just a person, and I think that's something that like inherently makes your work very, very strong. And so I don't know. That was my sentiment.
Yeah, thank you.
So tell me, let's jump back for a little bit. Let's jump to sort of the start of your career, because I know that you did comics for, what was the name of the paper that was down in Mexico?
The paper? Oh, my cartoon?
Yeah,
It was called Pupa and Lavinia.
Okay, first of all, what does Pupa mean? Because
Pupa is a girl. Somebody in the comments just mentioned Pupa and Lavinia, actually.
Yeah.
Dulce no pronto, she said she used to love Pupa and Lavinia like crazy. Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you.
When I hear the name Pupa, I may not have the accurate translation. Let's put it that way. The world
Pupa,
I live in.
So, Pupa, it used to be a little, I don't even know if I can draw them right now, but I can try. So, Pupa used to be a girl. Let's see if we can. I don't know. She used to be a girl with, it was like a round face like this, and then big eyes like this.
When's the last time you drew these characters?
Years ago, but I wrote them. I drew them for 10 years.
Yeah, so they should come back relatively easy. It's one of those things where it's like, if you asked me to draw a book that I drew 10 years ago, I don't know if I'd be able to do it without looking at the source material.
Yeah, no, me either. Let's see. We'll find out. So she used to have hair like this, blue. And so Pupa used to be a girl, and then Lavinia used to be her best friend, and they were like the opposite. Pupa is very value driven, and she's very pure and good person, and Lavinia is the opposite. She is driven by her vices and her weaknesses and men. And all of I don't know. I guess it was like the light side and the dark side of me, because Pupa is always like thinking about the world and how can she be a better person, and she has high anxiety, just trying to be good and just trying to do the right thing at all times, and she's very innocent and very virtuous. She's just a very virtuous girl, and Lavinia is the opposite. She's all about pleasure.
Thus,
as I say, men and all of the fun stuff. So yeah, and then the funny thing about Pupa and Lavinia is that I started drawing them when I was 20, and I stopped when I was 30, and I was already a mom, and so many things had changed by that time, and I had changed so much at the time that the cartoon came to an end, that I was a different person. So, but Pupa and Lavinia, they never grew up. They were always the same, and they. So it's funny because they just stay the same, but it's just the things I used to talk about, they just kept changing. And
was it daily or was it a weekly? What
it was weekly.
Weekly, okay.
Yeah.
I asked just because of, like, if you have to draw it every day, there probably is a repetitious quality of like, oh, I just got to do the same thing again. But if you have time in between to think and like plan and whatnot, maybe it grows in a different way or becomes something else, because you have that time to think and to sort of plan more.
You will think, but to be honest, it was on Fridays. Every Friday, on Friday, I will be panicking. I'm like, oh my god, I'm never gonna have another idea. I'm running out of ideas. I'm never gonna have another one. And then on Friday, I will send Pupa and Lavinia the last minute, like minutes to publication, and I will be panicking, like, oh no, maybe I'm never gonna have any more ideas, and that will a torture that would happen every single week, and it was just basic anxiety.
That's your own fault for putting it off until the last minute, right?
I know, procrastination and avoidance, But the whole week I will be like, oh no, I don't have ideas. I have run out of ideas. It was just panicking the whole entire week. Then Friday will arrive and I will start like a couple hours before I was supposed to send it. And yeah, it was panic, honestly. But and just the panic of thinking I'll never want to have ideas again in my life. I always thought that every single cartoon that I published out of 500, I thought this is the last idea I'm ever gonna have. I'm sure. I ran out of ideas.
Do you still? I'm gonna throw this out there because I think it's a question for folks out there probably that go through the same thing. Do you still have that idea in your head that this is the last thing you're gonna do? That
not anymore. Thank God, I grew up a little bit.
Yeah. How do you get to that point? Because I feel like I'm still in that, like, I don't know what's around the corner. Even though I have contracts and I have things to do, there's still this, like, this doubt or fear that still pops up. How'd you get over it?
Really? You still feel that?
Yeah.
Every time? Like every day or
not every day, but I do question the longevity of career and the ability to sort of stay on top of or to stay relevant, I guess. And I mean, I don't know, this is gonna sound I'm not asking your age, please don't tell me your age unless you choose to, but I don't know if it's like
thank you,
if it's midlife crisis, if it's something else, but there is questions about sort of like, okay, where am I in my career? How long have I been doing this? Should I be at a different point? Where do I want to be when I finally say I'm done? Like I can retire kind of situation. And those kind of questions, I think, there's nothing wrong with having those kind of questions.
No, it's very normal.
Yeah, but I think I'm at that point where, like, I do consider the legacy of if I can get another book written, what should it be and how powerful should it be, or what should it say, kind of thing. And so that's the kind of thing that I think about and question more so than like, am I a good artist? I think I can assume at this point that, like, yeah, my art's fine. I don't think it's special, but I think it's fine. But
it is special.
No, I'm not fishing for compliments, yours. But
Come on.
A
couple.
Yeah, I mean, if you throw them out there and they happen to land or they happen to bite on my fishing pole, my hook, well, I am going to reel them in. But it's more so I look at it's like, what kind of books do I want to make, and have I made those yet? Or those are the kind of questions I have. And so I'm always kind of, when people say that they're not as worried, there's some, I feel like, switch that I need to flip. And so, if there was something like, was there a moment where, like, you stopped worrying? Was there an event?
So I think it's two different things there, because I wonder if what you're worried is about the career, or, to me, art is the connection with the universe, Are you worried about your career or your connection to the universe?
I'm gonna say career.
Okay, so that's easier, because of course that one worries me. I do not think that I'm gonna run out of ideas anymore, because even if I never wrote another idea in my life, I have so many. Like my books are bursting. I have book after book that I'm hiding, because I just don't know what to choose. Like, for example, this one that I just finished, it's the one about grief. I don't know how much I can say about it because it's very secret, but I love it so much. And it was in a tiny little notebook. I found a poem that I have written about my grandma when she passed away, and it made me feel better. So that was an idea that I had forgotten about. I'm sure you have thousands of ideas hidden in your notebooks, and then once you see how many they are, then you don't worry. But the career is a different thing, because the career is and it's a different problem, and I think it's not as bad of a problem, because I think it's not as bad to be worried about your career than your connection to the universe.
Yeah.
Because it's more important your connection to the universe, and if you know that you have yourself and that you have your connection to the infinite and that you can continue creating until you die, then you can relax a little bit.
Yeah.
But the career is worrisome because we don't know what's going to happen with the world, with AI, with with the government, with nature, with everything else. Like, we don't know if publishers are going to keep publishing, if the money is going to keep coming, if the trees are going to keep growing and making paper. Like, we don't know any of that, so that's a little bit scarier to me.
You dumped some big stuff there. Like, I hadn't even thought about, are the trees going to keep growing? That one hit hard.
Is the sun gonna keep shining? We don't know.
It's. I mean, I think it's valid, and I don't negate the idea that that I probably should get over some of these things and move on, or at least come to understand that it is not as big as I probably put the pressure on myself for with these. You know, if a contract doesn't roll in, it's not the end of the world kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think the legacy side, that's the, like, you know, it's am I don't know. That's a weird conversation. I don't know if this is the conversation that people want to listen to.
I think it's very deep.
It is. I mean, it is. It's just the idea of like, artists have these challenges of relevancy, and I think that the older I get, the more I start to go like, okay, am I still in a place where my voice is, as, you know, I'm saying the thing that I really want to say, or am I sort of just doing it because of a contract, or am I doing, you know? And I was reading questions. Today was the first day I was back teaching with students, and I was saying these same questions to them of like, you know, are you making the work that you really love to make? And, you know, I don't know as I have an answer. I don't know if anybody really has an answer for that, because your work changes on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And what I want to do today might be totally different than what I want to do tomorrow. And so, I don't know. It's weird. I'm gonna move on. This is
no. Like, honestly, what I'm thinking right now is this is a question of your connection to the universe. If you're thinking about your legacy, you're thinking about your own death. So,
okay.
I think that's very big. You know, like, what am I going to leave behind? What is my legacy? Is one of those questions that is mortality, you know? And I think that is what connects it to being in midlife, as you're saying, because at this point in life, and also maybe that's why you're mentoring, I will say, because I worry about that too. Like, what am I leaving behind? Who can I teach other stuff that I've been learning, what I know? And I've been thinking about teaching more and more and more and more. Yeah. I want to teach more because I want to share some of the things that I've learned throughout my life before I die, because now I'm like, mortality is becoming more of a thing the older you get. So I understand how you can be thinking about that, and as it's not a small question. Your legacy. Imagine some people that I've dated, they hit 50 and they never wanted children. Suddenly they want children. Because they're like, oh my God, I need to procreate now. Because what am I going to leave behind? And then...
Let me ask you this then. So you said you have 2 daughters, right?
Yeah.
How old are those daughters?
17 and 13.
17 and 13. Okay. So they're older than mine right now. I have an 11-year-old. And so like, it's one of those things where I think it's just like, I'm at that stage in life. And so like, children's books keep me somewhat grounded in a sense. Like it lets me be a kid constantly, and I don't like it's gonna and I don't know if it's the same thing for you, but when I'm working on books, most of the time I'm like, what other job would I have where I get to draw and paint these just nonsensical things that are meant to be just frivolous and stupid and fun, and, you know, drawing a kid in underwear is not something that everybody, that sounds weird. I probably shouldn't use that as an example.
Depending what kind of underwear, you know?
Let's not go there. But just that idea of like, there are things in my career that I look back and I go like, what a silly world this is that I get to do this and actually get paid for it. And to me, that is very exciting, even if I don't have the big seller, even if I'm not the superstar or anything of the sort, just to know that like I was able to afford stuff and help my kid get through life based on me drawing someone's butt is a fun way to look at life. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump subjects. So for just the sake of new subjects, not because I don't want to talk about books.
Can I just add something to that? Because I told my girls when I got my book contract with Little Brown, I was like, girls, if I get to be a writer for the rest of my life and just draw and write, I don't think I want to die. That's what I told them. Really? That's what I get to do? I remember that when Meghan Markle was getting married to the Prince guy, and I was like, I think I'm luckier than Meghan Markle. Honestly, I don't think she's luckier than me because I told him how insane it is that your mother has an imagination. Then her imagination gets put into paper. Then this paper is brought to New York. And then the people in New York put it into a book and send it to China to be printed. Then people all over the world are reading this book that it was your mother's imagination at some point. It's just the biggest, most exciting thing that has happened to me, honestly. And it was by accident that I became that. So, but also the value, because when I'm teaching children or youth or people, adults, to write, whatever age, what I tell them is listen to your imagination, because nobody else has it. Nobody else has your imagination. And when it just gets when it gets printed and shared, what could be more exciting than that?
Well,
you know? What could be more exciting than that?
Keep in mind, you're also not married to a prince, though. So, like, that's a pretty big deal.
I still choose this. I'm serious. I told to my daughters, I think I'd rather have my imagination printed and shared than being married to a prince, and I mean it. Don't you agree, or would you rather just be? Is what I'm saying is, she got to be married to a prince. I got to have my imagination printed in China.
Yeah, no, I totally agree that, like, I don't, the prince isn't my type anyways.
You're like ginger guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a ginger myself. It's a problem.
Oh, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
So I hope you like them.
Yeah, gingers are fine. I mean, I'm not good in the sun, and I feel bad for any ginger that has that problem as well. But no, I think that, like, it's a pretty fun job, and there is a reward to it. But I also keep in mind that it is a job, and there is, it can be taxing at times. It can be challenging. It can be, there are things that just as a person, sometimes, like, getting notes back or having to do edits, there's always these, like, there you go. I got you on that one.
Grow up now.
Yeah. That idea of what you envision in your head, you're going like, this thing is genius, and then someone writes back and goes, well, you probably need to change this, that, and the other, and that can be a little challenging at times. But I also understand that it's not the hardest thing in the world for someone to go, hey, can you move that foot 2 inches to the right, versus someone going, hey, can you lift this 100-pound bag of cement and carry it up 3 flights of stairs for a construction job. It's a very different environment, and so I'm very thankful for the situation that I am in. So let me ask you a couple other, like, sort of logistic book things that are outside of sort of the life philosophy world that we're sort of we've been delving into. So one of the things that I'm fascinated by with your work is, and I use this term in a loving way, is the simplicity of pages. And so, like, you are someone there. Obviously, in the books there are spreads and things of the sort, but you're very good at sort of not putting in excessive amounts of stuff. And that is a real skill that not everybody has. And I'm wondering, yeah, and for anybody, that's not meant to be like a slam, like, oh, you don't know how to do big, expansive things that have millions of people running about in them. Nor do I. I'm not, that's not my jam, and that's not really what I wanted to put in the work. But I'm wondering, as you work on things, how do you manage clarity of idea and making sure that your work is what I want to say, like, that you don't get excessive in what you do, that you don't overburden the image, because clearly you have I mean, maybe you come from a different direction. My initial thought is, okay, how do you take stuff away? But maybe you're coming from a direction where it's, okay, what do I need to add in order for this to work, and not actually like subtracting in the process. But talk to me a little bit about that process of, like, how do you know what to put on a page?
That's a good question, because I never thought about that either. So, I honestly, I feel like I use, if you see my work from 10 years ago, it was obsessively detailed, so detailed. Like, like the hair will take me days to make a hair, because it was so much hair, and I will do every strand, and I will do every little, like, scale. I will get obsessed about little texture, little details and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But obsessive. I will work on it for days and days and days, and houses and hair, like animal hair. If I will draw an animal, there will be so much hair, and it was an obsessive thing, honestly. It was so much work, and I loved it so much. But for some reason, that's when I couldn't speak, because I used to have such social anxiety. I didn't speak for many years, and even before I came to Canada, I didn't speak very much, and I feel like that was my speaking. It was just drawing all of these things. When I started speaking, it's almost like my artwork started simplifying. It started losing all of the extreme work that I used to put into it, which I used to love. But at some point, it just stopped for some reason, and I started focusing more on the writing, because I could speak. And if you see the evolution of my work, when I started speaking, when I started speaking in the world, my character started speaking, and I realized that if you look at my cartoons, how they started getting simpler and simpler and simpler to the point that they're blobs, it's because I wanted more immediacy, and immediacy became more important, so I could get the message out quicker and easier than the details, because at some point it's a lot of craftsmanship too, and I started asking myself, how much of this is because I'm trying to be something, I'm trying to be good, I'm trying to show people that I'm putting a lot of effort. So I'm trying, how much is actually me being me, and me doing what I want to do. So this is my other character from my cartoon. This is Lavinia, Pupa and Lavinia. So this is
okay.
So this is Pupa. So probably spelled very differently than you imagine. Pupa.
Yeah. I mean, it's I'm waiting. The delay on my feed is a little bit, but Pupa. Yeah. Okay. I think I had read. It just, I mean, I'm a 4-year-old at heart, and so you say the word Pupa, and my initial reaction is not, oh, it's this lovely, cute character that has, that talks about real things. It's me going, that sounds like a dirty word, and not dirty. It's not like it's that bad.
Well, but dirty like poop is dirty.
Yeah. I think we got it. I don't know why you had to bring it full circle and say the word itself.
You mean poop.
I like how all of a sudden I'm pretending that I'm a prude in our conversation, and like you're forbidden. You're not allowed to talk about these things.
You started it.
And in real life, I'm like poop, poop, fart, fart. But it's no, I mean these are again. This is okay. First of all, hold on. I want to ask a question because this always comes up, and I always find it fascinating. At the beginning of this, you said it was hard to draw and talk at the same time. How are we?
Yeah.
How are we now?
A little bit better. My character's a little bit more deformed than they will be if I was actually paying more attention.
Okay. But
that's true.
But you're getting in the swing of it, correct?
Yeah, I'm starting to be able to do it. Maybe I can do Twitch one day because I've been wanting to try Twitch, but I'm like, how am I gonna draw and talk? Should we answer some questions?
Well, yeah, I've not seen a lot of questions pop up. People have been watching, but we haven't seen a lot of questions. And so, if people want to throw questions in the comments there, we are happy to.
So they're just their comments. Yeah, friends, please ask us things. Oh my goodness.
So, in the meantime, while we're waiting for a question to pop up, I will ask you a question of my own. And one of those questions is, okay, so let's pretend. And I know this question is probably coming from someone here anyways, but let's pretend that you are, or that someone's starting out their career in picture books. I want you to dig deep and find some bit of advice that you wish you knew that is beyond just like, oh, you really need to make work that's important to you. Like, there's probably some really technical thing that's out there that once you say it, you'll be like, or once you think about it, you'll go, oh, this is I really needed to hear this in order to understand what this job was. For me, I really needed to know to not get caught up in corrective measures as a like to let things sit and to not rush through work. And a lot of that is because I was coming from an industry that was very, very speedy in its expectations. The editorial world where it's like you got to get stuff done at a relatively fast pace. And so I'm, like that's something I just never, no one would have said that to me because it's all contextual. What does fast mean? Those kinds of things. Is there some bit of advice that someone shouted at you at some point or has said you really, or has become a important element in your process?
Yeah, when I wrote things because I had a mentor and I was a cartoonist at the Toronto Star, and my mentor told me I needed to write a book because he was, cartoons are great, but they disappear every week.
Yeah.
So you need to do something that is gonna last, and a book. He told me a book is like a religion. You create it, and then somebody in the future is gonna find it, and you don't know what's gonna do to them. So you need to write a book, and you're ready to write a book. So I just went to my house and I wrote it, and that's it. Like I didn't know how, but because I had so much experience as a cartoonist, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go home and I'm gonna write a book. So 3 weeks later, I had a book, or a month later, I had a book, and then I showed it to my mentor, and he was like, cool. So I did it without any knowledge of anything. So it was very innocent and very pure, and just whatever it was in my mind and whatever I wanted to say. But then I got the 3-book contract with Little Brown, which is like the craziest thing in the world that happened. I was so excited. I was also going through my divorce, so that was very helpful. So I wrote that book, and then suddenly I have a contract to write 2 more books. And it didn't feel the same because I'm like, oh my goodness, my editor is telling me to do a story that is character driven. And I'm like, what does that mean? So I didn't know what that meant. And actually I felt very paralyzed for a while. And I contacted a writer that had my same agent. His name is Ian Reid. Like he's super famous, but before he wasn't famous.
Yeah.
Now he has 2 Netflix movies, and one that is amazing is called Foe, F-O-E. So he told me, I told him, like, what do I do for my second book? Because I feel so paralyzed. Like, I don't know. I have a panic about, and especially because my first book did so well and people loved it, and I felt the pressure. People are expecting me to do this, and people told me that this will happen, that I will have a panic.
Yep.
for the second one. And he told me, chase that sense of excitement. If you feel excitement, chase it. If you don't feel excitement, don't go there, because people are gonna feel it. If you're excited about what you're doing, it's gonna be good. If you're not, it's not gonna be good. People are gonna feel it.
That's
so
really good advice. I mean, I had the same issue, honestly, where like I got a 2-book deal, and the first book was really easy because I'd already done it. You know, you send it along, and it's like, hey, I've already done this work. I don't have to think of any sort. And then you get to that second book, and all of a sudden it's this pressure of like, I got to live up to the first book. I need to, you know, there's a lot writing on something like that in your head, not necessarily at the publisher, but and there's this like crescendo of, oh God, this isn't good enough. They're gonna see through it. I'm a flash in a pan situation. And you know, in reality, that's not necessarily what happens in most of these cases. It's just you need the time to process and make something. But it is a interesting sort of dynamic that happens when you have a multi-book deal.
And it's all internal.
Yep.
It's all anxiety. It's all self-talk. My ex-husband used to be a pitcher for the Kansas City Royal minor leagues. And he told me that pitching was totally mental. Like it was all mental. He said, if you start thinking, you're not gonna do well and you're gonna get hurt. And actually that's what ended his career. Like he started thinking and he got hurt and then he couldn't play anymore.
Was it a shoulder issue?
I think elbow.
Elbow, okay. I have three cousins that all played in the minors and the majors. And
cool.
every one of them was a pitcher, and every one of them had shoulder or elbow issues.
Oh, there you go.
It's just common for that to happen.
Yeah, but he told me, because at some point I taught him meditation, and he said that if he had known meditation when he was a ball player, he would have succeeded way further than he went, because he said it's all mental. When you're pitching, you cannot think. You need to stop thinking. You need to stop the thinking, or you're gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you're making a book, it's very hard. You need to stop. The thinking stops the channeling of whatever's trying to come to you. And I think that's why the first one is so easy, because we're not thinking. We're just like doing it. And it's like, okay, figuring it out, doing this thing. But at the second one, you have so many thoughts. You have like you know too much by then. You know about the publishing industry. You know about the business side of it. You know the amount of pages that it has to be. So you are ready, like that's in your brain. And you know, because you already gone to the office to meet the editor.
Uh-oh. I lost audio there for a second. Hopefully it's just... Are you there?
And I think the key is to find a way to be by yourself once again, you know? And to me, that has worked. I've done art for so many years, and now I know how to block the world. But when I was in my second book, it was pretty excruciating trying to get to that place, because that time I was panicking. I thought maybe what you're describing right earlier about like not knowing if you can continue doing it or whatever.
Yeah.
I felt it. I'm like, maybe I'm done. Maybe in Mexico we have a saying that is like the donkey who blew on the flute, you know, and played by accident. So I was like, what if I'm a donkey that played the flute by accident? So
first of all, can I say how amazing that statement is? The donkey and the flute. Like, okay. Walk me through this. A donkey blowing on a flute. What does it mean? What's the sentiment?
So basically, that's telling. So like for my dad used to have a bully of a boss, and when my dad did something right, his boss would say like, oh, you're just like a donkey that blew that blew on the flute by accident, which means that you did something right almost as an accident.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
But why?
So
I understand, but why a donkey blowing a flute?
because
Like,
we're Mexican and we're very awesome.
Yeah.
Very colorful and creative.
Is that something that donkeys do every once in a while that I just don't know about? What? Where does
I honestly don't know who thought about the donkeys, but I also think it's a great saying. But Mexicans, like the sayings in Mexico are so funny that you get a funny saying for everything. And that one is basically the donkey who blew the flute by accident.
There has to be a real donkey somewhere that blew on a flute that caused that sentence or caused that sort of adage or that idiom to happen in the first place. I do see that we have a question from Alicia Nash, who says, I'd love to hear how Annie stays connected to the universe through her work or outside of her work. And so like you had mentioned that idea of like connection to the universe. Can you delve a little bit into like what that actually entails, what that means? I am someone who like I understand probably the sentiment, but I'm not the type to probably use that phrasing, and so I want to make sure that my head is wrapped around what do you mean when you say like connected to the universe?
I feel like every time we do art, it's not coming out of us alone. It's coming from somewhere else. Like, and I don't know, some people are religious, some people are not religious. I could call it God or the universe. But I feel like we are these little beings, and the things that we produce, don't you feel like we are like nature? Like we're like nature. We're like, imagine a maple tree which produces maple syrup or something. I don't know. And we do it naturally if we allow ourselves to stay connected to that nature, to our nature. And I feel like when we get disconnected from the universe or from our nature is when we think too much, when we're thinking, like for example in my second book, I was at some point I did manage, and the writing of my book was very, very from the universe. Spark was from the universe. But when I started trying to produce it, that's when I was very stuck because I didn't know at some point if I was doing a good job and if I was doing what my publisher was expecting from me. But I feel being connected to the universe as an artist and as a person is recognizing the moment when you are doing things that are coming straight from you. Like the maple syrup will come from the trees, or like the maple, I don't know, the juice. Like, you know, the
maple juice.
It's like, it's not syrup at that point,
sap,
right?
Sap.
Okay.
The term maple juice is so funny to me. I'm gonna have some pancakes with some maple juice on it.
Maple juice. So in my experience, the moments that I've been very connected to my you know, I guess I'm a spiritual person, that's the thing. And I feel like to me art is a spiritual practice. It's listening to what the universe is trying to tell me and putting it down on paper. Sometimes the universe is me, sometimes it's my feelings and my emotions and things that have happened, but sometimes it's just ideas coming out of nowhere. And you have to wonder, where did that idea come from? Where did it come from? It's just, sometimes you get these ideas that I'm like, this is so cute and so awesome. And where did it come from? And I feel when I've done, because for example, when I moved to Canada, my artwork in Mexico used to be very shocking. Like it was a lot of, I used to draw like a lot of guts and blood and scary things, and then I come to Canada and nobody liked my art in Canada. Like only in Mexico they kept liking my art. So for some years I became a very Etsy artist. I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna draw what people draw like for Etsy. But I remember my illustrations were like, if you look at my past my illustrations used to be like really crazy. Like I have a when my baby was born, I drew her like coming out of my body with the umbilical cord, and I'm holding her, and then my husband has a gun. Like I don't know what like those are the images that came from me. And in Mexico, people love them. But then I come here and nobody liked them. So I feel like really like an outsider. So as I said, for years I started softening my art, and I was like, I guess I need to figure out what people like or whatever. And I did for a couple of years, but then eventually I stopped drawing for a whole year, and that's the year of my Great Depression, as I call it, because I feel like I wasn't following my nature. I was just listening to what people liked.
Yeah.
And then I had to pay for that by not drawing for years. For a year, I mean, one whole year without drawing, which is insane. I haven't stopped drawing since I was 3 years old. So for me, a year of not drawing, it was really painful.
I mean, I can definitely understand. Like, again, I'm not someone who gets into too deep of a like, this is the meaning of life and things of the sort in general. I mean, that's not true, because I sit on here and I say things that are meant to be a little like
Deep.
Yeah, every once in a while. But I do understand the idea of, like, you know, the connection to your art is really important, that you're doing what you like and what is important to you, and not just trying to appease some other person out there that you know, maybe isn't all that relevant or important in your life.
Yeah.
And so, like, I understand that sentiment.
From a different perspective, but same thing.
Yeah.
So
tell me, let's go to a subject of, like, obviously I understand you love art making.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna throw you the curveball now.
Okay.
Oh, that's not a ex-husband reference. But could be. What part of the art process do you not like?
I don't like inking, and right now I'm doing that for my graphic novel. I can show you, because my daughter was watching me today and she saw me procrastinating the whole day, because I love the parts that are coming from the universe. That's my favorite part, writing and sketching. But inking, to me, it's work. It's just like a work that I need to finish and I need to do. Let me see if I can find you the page. So I'm talking in this graphic novel. I'm talking about dating as fishing. So in this page, I'm talking about dating the kind of fish that is hiding under, like, in a deep lake, and nobody can get to him, whatever. So I'm drawing this big scene, and drawing this big scene was really fun. But then I need to ink it. So it's gonna have a lot of, like, repetition. This little boat in there and the trees.
Yeah.
That was fun to draw. The things that are, like, fun to draw, I love them. But this is gonna have a lot of, like, rocks and stuff, and I've been, like, dreading it so much that I use color a little bit, and then I'm like, oh, I need to do laundry, and then I put a little bit of rock there, and then, like, oh, I need to make dinner.
Yeah.
I use color a little bit, and I'm like, oh, I need to see the neighbor or something. And the inking part for me is like, I don't know. Inking is something that inking, to be honest, that's what a lot of artists pay other artists to do, like, when you're famous and rich. And I understand why, because I'm like, at that point my job is done. I already did the drawing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do I need to do it for a third time? Because you need to do it for the sketch, then for the clean sketch, and then by the time you're doing the inking, it's the third time you've seen that darn thing. And I hate repetition. So
I totally get that. I'm in that same ballpark where, like, one of the reasons why I would not like doing and I'm pretty sure of it at this point, why I would not like doing a graphic novel is not because of, you know, the long form as a whole. It's because I don't like doing repetitious things.
Yeah.
that would wear on me, and I'd start to go like, ugh, I don't want to do this again because I have to do the same thing I did yesterday and the same thing I did before that. And
Yeah.
so like, it is not a form that makes a lot of sense for me. That doesn't mean that at some point it won't be a good thing, but at least at this point in my career, it's definitely not the thing that I gravitate towards on a regular basis.
Yeah, to be honest, like for example, their pages are fun, and to me that's the thing. If it's fun, then I just find a way. For example, this page with the fish, this was so much fun to do because I was able to do little flowers and the little scales. Like again, I like look at these fish kissing this person. So that was really fun to draw. They like walking and then like the little plants. This was fun, and when there's a lot of improvisation left for me to do, inking can be fun. But so this page I just did yesterday, it was really fun. And
now that gets into a dangerous territory for me, and this is a question that I can ask you that I understand there are pages that are more fun. I have those in my book too. When do you I didn't mean it in some weird way, but when do you work on those pages?
When?
Yeah,
on
in the
fun
process. Like I don't, the pages that are the fun pages I save till the end.
Oh no! I just go through the pages as they go usually.
Oh, see, that's I can't wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the concept, but I am someone who needs it to be like if I start with the fun stuff, then all I have left is the stuff that I dread. Not that it's bad images, but it's images that are more challenging or cause problems down the line. And so I feel like I'd rather get those things out of the way, so when I get to the fun stuff, it really is just fun and I don't have to think.
I know what you mean actually, and I have done that in the past. There was a page in my last chapter. Oh my god, let me see if I can find it for you, because I just needed days to do this one. I'm gonna look for it. Let me see, because I did do that it took me days and days just to do all the little drawings. And I know what you mean. I had to do it first, so I wasn't dreading the day when that will come. But this one was fun too. That's the thing. You never know. Sometimes the ones that are really hard is fun. So I found it. So check it out. This is a scene of when I met my boyfriend from when I was 20 years old. So look at all the little people that I had to draw. It's like millions of them. And then look at this little band playing, because we were in Guadalajara. We have like the festival of music.
Yeah.
And that's where I met him. And that took me so long to draw. I don't know why, because I know people draw more than this and probably they do it faster. I'm pretty slow. So yeah, that was
They have little butts.
And my friend. Yeah, they have little butts and they're all like, they're so cute. But look at all these faces. So I knew this will take me a long time. And it did.
I see that Alicia Nash also has a question that maybe this is a good page to use here. And the question is about how long does it take for you to ink a page? And obviously that page is more cumbersome yet than the stuff you even showed earlier. So what kind of time frame are we talking on a page like that? How long did that actually
That one, like, to me, because I'm slow, it took me like 8 hours, I will say.
Okay.
I think, as I said, I know other graphic novels. Like, I was reading Mouse for the first time because I told you I was trying to become Jewish. Now I don't know if I'm going to become Jewish. It's a lot of work. I like the Jewish people.
Yeah.
But I was studying them and everything. And what was I saying? I got distracted because I'm looking at my paints. Look, gouache. What was I talking about?
We were talking about the speed at which it takes to draw or to ink
a long time.
those pages.
That was it. I don't know. Oh my God,
to be honest, I don't know. You started talking about becoming Jewish and I got lost in that, so I think that's what they're talking about.
that could be a book all by itself.
Yeah,
It's been
it's
an
late
adventure.
at night where you start to get silly at a certain point.
Yeah, we're drunken with night.
Wait, what? You're drunk?
Drunken with night.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know. I'm
Okay, there
trying
you
to
go.
be very poetic.
Hey, I didn't realize it was that kind of show. Tell me, what is your schedule like? Like, obviously, you have kids, so there's things you have to attend to as a parent. Now, hopefully, they're at the age where they can do a lot of stuff themselves. You don't have to change diapers, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
I don't know. If they're listening right now in the background, you can call them out on that. But what does your schedule look like right now? Are you in the studio nonstop? Are you, when you say 8 hours, is that like for that piece? Is that 8 hours straight, or is that broken apart into?
No, I cannot work for 8 hours straight usually because I get really tired.
Okay.
So, and also because inking is not
Yeah,
inking.
it's a pain.
I'm like, okay, I need to step away from this torture. But so I have to wake up and then hi. Oh my goodness. I just give me 1 second. There. So I wake up and then I make usually breakfast for my girls, or lately they haven't been eating breakfast, so I don't know why. But I take my daughter to school. It's a drive, so I have to drive her, and then I come back home, and that's when I usually start drawing for a couple of hours. But lately, actually, when the kids were little, I was very obsessed with the idea I cannot work when the kids are around. I was obsessed with that idea. I never did religiously, because I'm like, no, they're interrupting my connection with the universe. And as you can hear, like I always have that. But lately, because this work is taking so many hundreds of hours, a graphic novel is hundreds of hours. So I had to start working when they're around. And I'm finding that it's not as impossible as I always thought. And they're around, and we live in an apartment, the three of us. So they're right. Yeah, they're around. And before, to be honest, writing to me is impossible when there's other people. That one, I have to access a place that is really deep when I'm writing, really deep, and I cannot be distracted, or I just lose the plot in my head, and I lose the message, and then I get really sad about it, because I'm like, oh, my brilliant idea has been lost. But when it comes to drawing, I have started to work when the kids have already come back from school, which I never done before. So I also write when they're around, and then so that's the new thing. Actually, this graphic novel has been stretching me, because I've been working for more hours than I've ever been able to. My stamina has never been great, to be honest. But the graphic novel is making it very, very, very. It's exercising my stamina, and that has been good actually. Because
are you working late into the night?
No, that one no, because I usually try to spend time with them.
Yeah.
And also I'm tired. As I get tired. I don't know. I know artists who work at night, and I used to when I didn't have babies. But these days I'm tired and I just want to sleep. And also because I have to wake up so early.
Just so you know, the audio has been cutting out a little bit. I don't think it's really much of an issue, but just so you know that the audio is cutting out. But
okay. I was getting a call.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, it came back. Although, wait, my feed is blurry.
Oh.
So maybe there's an issue with our internet here. Let me see if we're I think we're fine. I still have Wi-Fi. It just sometimes the signal gets a little low or has fuzz and causes problems. So, what was I gonna say? Are you full-time illustrating at this point? Or
yes.
Okay. And was that something that you were doing? I mean, obviously the comic and stuff like that, the comic strip and stuff for the paper down in Mexico, that must have been a arduous thing. But was there have you always been sort of freelance full time, or is there a time where you had to have a job to maintain, you know, stability or things of that sort?
To be honest, I think that's gonna be my new reality at some point soon. Because when I was working my other books, I had a contract in the States, and the States pays way better than Canada.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I haven't, and also I was married. So when I was in Mexico, I was living with my parents, and I just had a couple freelance jobs, and I didn't have to produce a lot of money because in Mexico we are children until we marry, basically. we're little until we marry. So I was just at home, and I used to just have like freelance jobs here and there. But then I moved to Canada, and then I got married right away, and then I had babies, so I was a stay-at-home mom for a couple of years. And then I had a business with my ex-husband, so I have not had. I had a job at some point designing clothes
Okay.
for Joe Fresh here in Canada, designing the patterns for clothes. So that was interesting. So that was a job that I had, but I've mostly been working on my stuff. But for a couple of years, I also had a business with my husband. So I guess that also counts as a job. But then when I published Pink, that was really big, and I was able to live off that 3-book deal for 5 years.
Oof.
So that was amazing, especially because I had gotten through a very, 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 very difficult divorce. So I had to have some time to recover, and my kids to recover from it. And it was a blessing, honestly, because I was able to take care of us for a while. And then I'm writing this new book, and then it's funny because I was like, wow, like being a writer is really easy. Oh my goodness, it's easy. Why is everybody complaining about the starving artist? Where is that coming from?
Yeah.
But now I'm finding out, because now that I have a contract that is more normal, I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna have to get a job soon.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with having a job. In fact, I talked to students about that today, that sometimes, you know, stability is really important. And I mean, I teach. That's my steady income at this point.
Oh, there you
And
go.
so
Where do you teach?
I teach at a little small art school. It's called Montserrat College of Art, and I teach illustration for the most part. But that idea of I think there's this idea that, you know, as an artist, unless you're full time, that somehow you are not good, or there's some like problem with it. And in reality, I actually think having a day job is very helpful in a lot of situations. Like, I definitely benefit from having some sort of source that is not just my studio. You know, it's my version of people are my favorite places. It's the same thing. That same sentiment of you know, I need to have social outlet of some sort in order to feel whole. And so I always, the people who go full time, I'm always like fascinated, because it's just not something that I've either been able to do or have ever really considered as a whole. But I know it's also like there's challenges that come with it. There's challenges with everything, honestly. I don't think there's a job or career that doesn't have some sort of challenge. Tell me a little bit about, man, my feed is still blurry. Yours seems to be fine, but mine is blurry for some reason.
Well, you mentioned your internet is not always...
Yeah, it's not always perfect, but yours is coming through fine. And so it's something to do with my upload speed from my end. But wait a second, no, because your feed is coming into my feed and then going out from there. So why would mine be blurry? I don't know. I don't understand it. I'll just chalk it up to it is. So tell me a little bit about outside of art making. Sort of, what are your inspirations? What are the things that you look at? I mean, obviously, you look at other artists and enjoy other art outside of just the stuff that you do, I hope. Well, the only thing I'm looking at is my own work. But what are the things that sort of inspire you as an artist? Are there like, are you I mean, you said philosophy is important. Do you read a lot of philosophy?
I don't read a lot of philosophy, and I don't consume too much art either, but I do have some favorites. I was telling you, I was reading Mouse, the graphic novel, but what I do the most in my life is read books. And honestly, it's mostly nonfiction.
Okay, what kind of books?
So, psychology, self-help.
Okay.
All of that stuff. Yeah, I that's kind of an obsession. I read that nonstop. That's actually what I do the most. If you were to count my hours on Earth, what I do the most is reading books.
I mean,
I love them so much.
I'm a nonfiction person too. I don't read a lot of fiction, but I read.
Oh yeah.
I don't read a lot of psychology. What I do read is I read, or when I did read a lot of books for grown-ups, was like science and I love books that explain things. So like there's this book, I don't remember the name of it, but it was all about how batteries work and told the history of like the battery. And to me, it was a really great book. Most people would probably go, "Oh, that's boring," of some sort, because it's not like I like the history of how things work more so than just how they work. Like I don't want a science book. I want a history book. And so that's when you say nonfiction, that's where my mind goes. I'm like, oh, I want to know about some weird random historical item. But you said, wait, are you currently reading Mouse, or you did?
I just read it. I think that's where I was going to when I was telling you about my adventures into Judaism.
Okay.
Because
that's a tough book.
It is. It's crazy. It's so sad, and it's so sad, but at the same time, it's so beautiful because he loves his wife so much.
Yeah. There's other books that are in that same vein. That if that is something that you, that type of book that you like, there's some other really interesting books that sort of come into play that are in that same sort of ballpark. That may be worth exploring. That I can send you a list of, like, here's some other books that would be worth your time. There's a book that's called I think, now someone's out there going to go like, it's not true, but I've read in multiple places it's considered the first graphic novel, and called A Conversation with God, I believe. And it's written by Will Eisner, who, the Will Eisner Awards, the graphic novel awards and things of the sort. And it is a very interesting book that may be worth your time, especially if you're sort of exploring religion. And it's not graphic novel in the sense of like it's panel after panel after panel. Some of the pages are just a single image. But it is worth a read, and really has some great content and might be worth you sort of delving into just to see even the form that it takes. Because it's sort of a split between a novel and a comic, and so you end up with this thing like a graphic novel. That's sort of self-explanatory when I say that, but totally worth checking out if you can get your hands on it. And it's not a long read of any sort, but it's deep.
I like that idea actually, because in my journals I have conversations with God. So
yeah, it's I mean it's on that same vein as Mouse. Like it's not a light read. It's not something where you read it and you go like, haha, this is funny. It is a read that is challenging at times, and so I would suggest it if you get the chance. But the other one that I recommend to lots of people. Have you ever read Understanding Comics by
No.
Cloud?
No.
If you've never read that, that's a really good one, especially if you're into graphic novels or into sequential art. It just sort of breaks down how they work for sort of.
Gosh.
But
I would love to see that, because it's I would love that. Imagine.
It might answer questions for you of how do I do this and how do I do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also told in a graphic novel format, and so it's a fun read, and that one's not super deep of any sort. I don't know why I'm just giving book recs now. So with you know, if you are reading all these adult books, and I say that in a loving manner because adult books always sounds a little funky. In the situation, I forget. I was on an interview with someone at one point, and they said that they do adult work on the side.
Wow.
Like, what does that mean? And I had to stop him and say, like, okay, you probably want to use a different phrase for that, because some people may not know what that means outside of, you know, said industry. But what are there artists in particular that you're looking at that you're like, this is the new star, or people that you are really inspired by, whether they be illustrators or not?
Like right now, like new or in my life?
Both.
Right now, actually, I don't know. Like, to be honest, recently I have become very obsessed with writing. So I haven't been looking as much to art as I've been looking at writing.
Okay.
So yeah, no, it is. I and for some reason, I became really obsessed with rappers, because I'm like, how can they? You know, that is driving me crazy. I went to a party and they were doing freestyling, and then I was like, what is this crazy situation that people get some beats and then they start singing to the beats everything that comes to their head, and it sounds musical and it sounds amazing. So I tried it and I loved it, and then so my brother, who is also a musician, I'm a musician sometimes.
Okay.
so he started introducing me to different artists, and then I just looking at what they do with words. I mean, I'm so shocked by, they're like superheroes to me, that they can do that kind of stuff with words, and that it ends up rhyming sometimes even.
So who are you listening to then? Who are these rappers that you lean on?
I don't know if it's politically correct to like Eminem. Is it likable? I don't know.
I mean,
because I know he's very questionable character, but he is so good at what he does. It's crazy. Like, the things that he does with words is almost superhuman, honestly.
Have you? Yeah. I mean, you might. This is one that's probably been out there for a while, and people know this one because of a specific song. But Blackalicious, do you know Blackalicious?
No.
Oh, you need to listen to Blackalicious.
It's a band or a person? Or?
I think it's a group of a couple folks, but they're rappers, but they are known for really interesting wordplay and really fast rhyming.
Okay.
And the one song that people may know is there's a song called Chemical Calisthenics, and it is a song that's the alphabetic structure to it, and it gets faster and faster and faster as the song goes along, and goes through the alphabet, and it is a very wild ride that may be worth sort of poking your head around and listening to at some point. But yeah, I mean, rhyme structure, that's something. Have you ever, like, I don't even know that. I don't think I would have noticed, because I don't always pick up on it. But yeah, none of the books that you've done are rhyming, correct?
No.
Have you ever tried to do a rhyming book? Have you ever broached that and tried the most dangerous form known to man?
You know what? I should do some freestyling.
Yeah, wait. Okay, so you said you rapped? Like you tried rapping?
Yeah, but I could only do it in Spanish.
Okay. Can you
and then
do it at any moment?
I discovered. Sorry?
Can you do it at any moment in time? Like right now, per se?
So, I don't know, because I'm tired now.
Good excuse.
I'm telling you, I go to sleep pretty early, because then it's a school night. But I I was at a party, and then somebody put some beads, and then I started rapping. That's all I know. And then it was what I discovered that it was really interesting to me is that I discovered that I had some anger inside of me that only comes out of me in Spanish when I'm rapping.
Interesting. Yeah, you. It's not all the time. It's only then that you let wild and give people what for.
Yeah, but the funny thing is like the viciousness of my anger, and I was like, wow, I didn't know that was in there. And yeah, I had just had a relationship that it was, I don't know, I don't even know how to describe it. It was great, it was really fun, but then in the end of it, I discovered that a lot of the things this person told me were a lie.
Oh, okay.
So it was honestly the best boyfriend I've had in my life. He was caring and adoring and sweet and supportive and amazing. The best. But then at the end of it, I discovered that a lot of the things he told me, they were lies. So many things were lies. So then I was like, I guess I cannot trust this person, even though he's the best boyfriend I've had in my life. You know?
Are you?
So
can I ask a question? This is just for, and you can say you can totally not answer and say that's too personal or anything of the sort.
Okay.
Are you doing online dating?
Yeah.
Is that horrendous?
It has been both horrendous and whimsical and magical. If it wasn't for online dating, I would not have driven a boat across Lake Ontario. I would not have learned how to bike across the city and like gone to the islands of the Toronto. I wouldn't have gone to New York. I even went to Hawaii because of dating. It's been a huge adventure, and then I personally gave myself the rule that I'm gonna learn something from every single man that I date. Every single one, I'm gonna learn something. So because of that, it's been pretty productive because I even learned guitar chords from some people, so, or songs, or movies, or whatever.
That idea of online dating seems, and I do not relish, or I'm not jealous of anybody that has to go through that process, because I know that it's got to be arduous. It's got to be
arduous is the word, but you know, at some point, and it is.
What was the question? Oh, audio cut out.
Circle. I'm getting popular tonight. People are calling me.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I mean, you are the hot topic. It's all the people that heard that you're on the market, and they're like, "Oof, now's the time to call." At however late
they're interested.
Morning, or the night.
The suitors.
Yeah. The folks that are out there are really tuning into this, because this is the dating capital of the Instagram right now.
But as I'm saying honestly, online dating, whatever, I do not want to hate it, because it has also opened a lot of doors, and it also opens doors for many people, and it has worked for so many people that I cannot lose hope.
Yeah, no, it's totally feasible to date with something like that. I'm just glad I don't have to go through it.
Well, thank you for bragging in front of me.
Oh, sorry.
In Mexico, we will say you don't need bread in front of the poor people.
Okay, it has nothing to do with the donkey this time?
No.
You don't
bread eating in front of poor people. That's what you're doing.
You're
I think in English they say rubbing it on people's faces.
Yeah. No, I didn't mean to do that.
Thank you.
That is not my intention of any sort. I mean, if you knew my wife, it's not easy either. She's
Don't tell her.
Oh, if you watch any of these Gabadoodles past when people jump off, it turns into me making crude jokes about my wife, and not crude and like dirty, but crude as in like saying that she's mean to me and that
Oh.
all these things, and it's always a joking manner. But I have a what I call a head doctor, a therapist that I talk to, and the first time I met her, I told her that she should, or I was talking about this Gavin Doodle thing and that I do this, and I said, so just as a warning, if you listen late, or if you listen late into the episodes, you might hear me making fun of my wife. Just know it's all a joke. And she's like, she immediately goes, so I need to check on your wife? And I'm like, no, everything's fine. But I like to tease. I'm a teaser. My, do you have siblings?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Two guys.
That's, the problem is I was a younger sibling, and so I got picked on. And as I get older, I find opportunities to become the older sibling and pick on people. And so that's what that stems from, is I tease my wife because it's I didn't get to tease when I was young. I don't know why I'm getting into this now. This is a weird topic of conversation all of a sudden. So tell me, I'm gonna throw some weird questions at you, and you need to answer these questions.
Okay.
And this is where I'm going to ask a question. You're going to go, time for me to go. Okay. Who would you like to be trapped on a desert island with, and why?
The first person that comes to my mind, I cannot tell you.
Interesting. Okay.
If I continue thinking for a decoy.
Yeah. It's I'm trying to think of like who it would be. Some weird like well, it's going to be something like, you know, someone who everybody cherishes as like being handsome, or something that's sort of like Pedro Pascal or something like that. Or or it's going to be the complete opposite, and it's going to be someone who like we're not expecting to be spicy of any sort, and then that's who it is.
No, not a famous person.
Oh, okay.
Just a person.
Yeah, no names needed in that situation.
No,
but
okay, if it's supposed to be a famous person, I guess I have a famous person. My only celebrity crush is Gael Garcia Bernal. And I've liked him since he was in telenovelas when we were little in Guadalajara. And he's also from the same place. So, but then he became really famous he's in Hollywood and everything. He made good movies.
Yeah, I don't know the name.
Oh yeah, so
I don't know the telenovela stuff, but
I used to watch his telenovelas when he was an 8-year-old boy, and I used to dream about him, that he picked me up from school and then he took me to the convenience store and bought me candy.
Wait,
those were my dirty dreams.
You've known about you've known about him since he was 8? Is that what you said? Like when he was on the show, he was 8?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he was a child actor, so I used to dream about him, like feverish dreams. And I'm like, oh my god, Gael. So I always dreamed of seeing him. Yeah. That's the only one. But honestly, it's funny. I don't have a lot of celebrity crushes. I don't know. Who would have been an island is the person that I cannot tell you. That's all. That's the only, and he's not famous. So, but it will be very fun and intellectually stimulating.
This is the after hours portion of Gavin Doodle, where my guest starts getting raunchy. Subtle raunchiness shows up. It's I wasn't even thinking that. Like when I asked the question, I meant like, who would you want to be? Like, oh, someone who has survival skills, or or like who would be entertaining. But you took it to a whole new level and decided to entertain this much more interesting conversation about.
That's the universe speaking to me. That's what the universe told me.
I am someone who loves gossip.
Oh,
absolutely loves gossip. So when you say stuff like that, like, "Ooh, it's this person," I'm like, "Yes, I love I love those details of not that I'm
I can tell you a hint that never, like, nobody will ever know what it is. But back in the day, when I was just like starting to date and stuff, I used to have a crush on this person, and I wrote a poem that said, "I know what the apostles felt for Jesus because that's what I feel for you."
Wait, what is it?
I know what the apostles,
Oh yeah, yeah.
felt for Jesus because that's what I feel for you.
And did you give that to the person?
No, no, I just wrote it in my poetry class, and then I was so proud. I'm like, yeah.
I was telling my son, so my son is in 6th grade right now, and he's at the age where the kids start to, have boyfriends and girlfriends and things of that sort. And I asked him about it the other day. I was like, "Are kids starting to have boyfriends and girlfriends?" And he said, "Yeah." And I told him how when I was in 6th grade, I had a girlfriend for a matter of, I think, a week. And I was like, I said, "Do you know what that even entails?" And he goes, "No." And I said, we sat next to each other at lunch, and we called each other on the phone, and that was about it.
Oh.
And then what I didn't tell him was, this may not be a reference that you'd know, but it was around Valentine's Day. It was just before it. And so I went out and I bought, for anybody that's listening, this is like deeply challenging for me to say. I went out and bought myself a Skid Row tape. Do you know the band Skid Row?
No.
Okay. Imagine really cheesy hair metal.
Okay.
And I bought an extra version of that tape for this girl, thinking it would be a really good Valentine's Day gift, which of course it wasn't. I don't think she had any interest in Skid Row of any sort. And then right before Valentine's Day, and literally it's a week, we were 11 years old, she goes, "I don't want to be boyfriend, girlfriend anymore." I'm like,
"Oh no."
Okay. And so I gave the tape to a friend, but it is one of those memories that is like stuck in my head for a very long time about the Skid Row tape. I was not the charmer of sorts.
Can I actually point out that you were being way nicer of a dater than 99% of the people I dated in online dating? Because I have broken up with several people because they will never call me on the phone. And they wouldn't even answer my text like in 24 hours. And then I was just like, okay, this is not what I need. But the fact that you were calling her, the fact that you were eating lunch with her, I wish the people I've dated these days, if they did something like that, I would be like, whoa, man, this is serious stuff. So you were better at dating than 99% of the people I dated lately. You bought a tape. You had lunch with her. You called her. Right now, all these emotionally unavailable people, no, that is not everybody. I met super lovely people too. But it's hard to even get to see them or to talk to them.
That's because
they don't give you any tape.
They're cat.
So
they're
oh my god, yeah, catfishers. Oh,
one of the things, my wife has heard this story I think before, and it's a sad, depressing story. I remember when I was in college. These are those conversations. We started talking about art, and now we're talking about this. But when I was in college, there was this girl who I think had a crush on me. And she asked me if I wanted to go on a date, and I was like, sure, fine. And I didn't say it like that. I wasn't like, sure, fine. I was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then we went on this date, and it clearly did not work out because, and this is where it gets a little sad and depressing in my mind, what she was interested in and what I was interested in were so far apart, i.e., at the time, this is when Nintendo 64 was out. And so I was really big into like playing GoldenEye. That's what I wanted to talk about. And she wanted to talk about like metaphysics and like philosophy and things like that. And I'm going like, yeah, but have you played GoldenEye? And it was clearly like I was this like little kid going out on a date with a mature woman.
Wow.
And I look back on it, and you know, it's to me very, very funny because I just like that is not my. I had no idea what I was doing. I was pretty much an idiot when it came to all of that, and so I'm very lucky that I have my wife. If she is upstairs listening, which I assume she might be, she may be asleep, but if she's upstairs listening, I'm very lucky that I found someone that understands and put up with my my idiocy as a young sprightly male.
How old were you when you were your wife?
When I met my wife?
Yeah.
Let's see. I was probably like 22, 23.
Okay.
I think 22, somewhere in that range. It's like relatively out of college. We worked at the same animation studio.
Oh, cool.
And so she actually worked on the educational side where they did like software and things, and I worked on the animation side, and then eventually she came over to the animation side. But she knows that I'm an idiot, and she puts up with it on a regular basis and puts up with my potty humor, and she enjoys some of that stuff too, but probably not as much as I wish she did, because then I wouldn't be so crude all the time. But I don't know. But yeah, I've known her for a long time. We just had our 20th this summer.
Oh
yeah.
My God. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to eat bread
going.
in front of you or something.
I'm gonna go cry to sleep.
But again, remember, it's been a horrible ride. She is the worst person in the world.
Okay.
Yeah. Imagine a hideous troll, and that's her.
Okay.
It's so accurate. I haven't heard her commenting, so I don't even know if she's listening. Sometimes I hear her yelling down at me like, "Stop saying that."
Well, she's there. She used to say hi, no?
Oh, she did. She said howdy. She said, "That's me." No, she's not a hideous troll. If anybody's the hideous troll in the situation, it's little old me. But I don't know. Yeah, we got onto dating. Were you? This is okay. I'm not gonna ask personal questions like that. That's rude of me too.
You can. It's fun, honestly. Okay. That's what my book is about. My book is about dating. So, and you know
that's
what?
True.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you allowed this to happen. Here it comes.
I'm happy, honestly. I talk about it. If you look at my page, so that's not all I talk about, but in my Substack, I have talked about my journals. I find it a very fascinating subject. To be honest, I wish it wasn't so grueling to find a normal person that is available. So, which is at this point all I'm looking for, and it is so hard to find. But people are my favorite places, and at some point I decided, if I meet a lot of people, I'm just traveling more. That's all. And a lot of people don't get to travel very much, and I'm an adventurous person, so I'm just trying to not get depressed about it, because it is hard, to be honest. It's hard to meet people, and then it doesn't work out, and then you get excited, and it doesn't work out again, and then you get excited again, and again it doesn't work out. It's pretty fucking... Oh, sorry.
And you said "but" earlier. I can't believe you dropped that on us.
It's getting late.
Yeah.
My defenses are going down. My walls.
Let me ask you a question about sort of dating. This is something where I'm wondering, especially when you're I'm in an environment where I'm around artists all the time.
Cool.
I'm teaching. It's just everybody kind of gets art, and the friends I hang out with from college days are all artists, and so there's a you kind of get it. But I'm wondering on the dating market, when you go out on a date, do people have a perception when you tell them that you're an artist, that you're a writer and things of the sort? Do they go, "Oh, well, that's not real," and or are they?
To be honest, I think that has made me a very exotic person, and people are very interested because of the exoticism of an artist. And I think being an artist has gotten me a lot of dates, but but I've also been more like, for example, I used to say in my profile I'm an author, but then I never say it anymore. I just say I'm a writer and an artist and a teacher. That's what I say.
Yeah.
I don't ever say I have published books in my profile, because a lot of creepy people used to come and it's like, oh, I want to be a writer too. Maybe you can help me find an agent, and
Yeah.
maybe you can get my book published and things like that. So at some point, I decided I'm gonna stop putting that in my profile, to be honest, because these people are weird, and and I don't want to help them with their projects. I don't want to read their books, and I don't want to help them find an editor or a publisher. I don't want to help them with their books.
Do you get those kind of? I was telling someone today that, you know, as a author illustrator, that I do get those emails from people who are, you know, for the most part self-publishing folks who are, I want to write a book, or I've written a book, can you illustrate it? And there's lots of conversations that happen around that. And in particular, I have lots of conversations that are in that vein of, well, what I would charge and what you probably are going to want to pay are in two totally different fields.
Oh, I like that answer.
Yeah, and I was saying to the student most of the time, and this is for anybody listening who comes to me and says, I want you to illustrate my book. I start off by just saying I have an agent. It has to go through my agent. But then I say, this is how much I would generally charge for most books. And if you are still interested, you can contact my agent, kind of thing. And I use it as an educational thing, because the majority of those folks don't know how much it actually costs to make a book or to illustrate a book, or what's expected in that situation. But do you still get those emails? Or like the one that I always get, I don't know, is family members sometimes come up to me.
Yeah.
And they're like, I have an idea for a book. And then you hear the book idea, and you're like, you have an idea, doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Yeah, no, exactly. I don't get the emails, but I do get the people that I meet that they tell me, maybe you should illustrate a book. Or I go to a party and then people are like, oh, this person is writing a book, maybe you should illustrate it with her. And I'm like, yeah.
Great idea.
And I just throw like a smoke bomb, and I disappear.
And it's I want to be,
because I hate the idea. To be honest, I'm not good at illustrating other people's work.
Yeah.
So
I can get that.
That's a weakness that I have, because I was a cartoonist. Again, I've never separated the idea of my writing and my illustration. So for me, to illustrate other people's work is very alien, and the time that I've tried to do it is so hard. It almost makes me sick even thinking about it. Even thinking about negotiating the price or like anything about it, but not even the price. Just having somebody telling me what to draw makes me almost sick, because I haven't succeeded at it very well.
Yeah.
So maybe I honestly, I will say maybe I should try it in the future, but thinking about it makes me sick. So maybe it's not in my nature. But maybe it will. Maybe at some point I will find a project that I'm like, oh my God, this is really cool. It will be cool to do it together. But the synergy or whatever, like the energy between us, between the writer, it will have to be so friendly and strong that
if it's gonna make you barf, like, don't do it. That's okay. We don't need that.
What my mentor told me is, if because at some point when I was still like freelancing more and stuff, I just hate it so much, honestly. But my mentor told me, next time somebody comes asking you to illustrate for them, give them a price so astronomical that they're probably gonna say no. And if they say yes, you're gonna feel like you screwed them up a little bit. so at least you feel a psychological power move inside, or I don't know, like at least I want to feel like I won.
Yeah. No, I tell an honest price, and that honest price is for the most part scary for a lot of folks. I mean, the assumption, like, I have students all the time that come to me and say, like, someone paid me $1,000 to illustrate a book, and I'm like, whoa, like, let's break this down into an hourly rate and see how much you actually got paid.
Yeah.
And when I
Yeah.
do that, oftentimes it is, you know, they realize the error of their way of taking something that's such a small payment. And for anybody that's listening, I mean, $1,000 is absolutely below what should be expected. And
So how much you charge for a book if I wanted you to illustrate my book?
it really depends. It really depends. I'm not gonna say that now here, but I'll tell you in a DM if you want.
Okay. Yeah, tell me, because I wouldn't even know, to be honest. It's, as I say, the concept is alien to me, and at some point I have considered doing it, but it's just the stress that I think when I just think about it.
Yeah.
Oh, and you know what? The reality is that I have done a tiny bit of it in advertising, and that's where I've done it, and it was very painful, because then people are like you were saying at the beginning, like, oh, can you do this leg a little bit more this? And even when I was designing clothes patterns, like, and they used to tell me, oh, this sheep looks sad, and this cat's head is too big, and all of this stuff that I'm like, this is pretty heartbreaking, you know, because I love them, and this is art, and you're not seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, so most of the work that I do is other people's manuscripts.
Okay, okay.
But I've also, I think I'm coming from a different range of artistic background, wherein like my main illustration prior to Kidlit was editorial.
Okay.
And so, you know, there was lots of meeting the demands of the client or meeting the demands of the project. And so working on someone else's book doesn't really faze me in the same way it sounds like that it does for you.
So you're used to it.
I'm used to it. I mean, it still hurts when someone says, hey, this doesn't look the way we want it to look, or things of that sort. But for the most part, I know that, or my mindset tends to be like, I am serving the client. I'm here to make the book better, not necessarily to make a book that's solely me. And then when I make books, then I want it to be a solely me situation. But it comes from just, you know, working in an animation studio, working in editorial. There's things that just come about from that sort of process that make me have different visions for sort of my expectations and my desires in production. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And honestly, sometimes it does take a load off when I'm not having to write, because I'm not naturally a writer. And so when someone comes to me and goes, hey, here's a story I have, all you got to do is illustrate it, then it's like, oh, I don't have to worry about wordsmithing this thing. I can just draw and call it.
Okay.
And so that does add a nice little, like I'm working on a book right now that someone else wrote, and it's a rhyming structure that I never would have come up with. It's not a thing that I even knew about. My wife knew about, like, how it works and explained it to me, because there's an instance of it in some Alice in Wonderland stuff, and she loves Alice in Wonderland. And so hearing that, I'm like, oh, okay, I never would have come up with this, but now that I know the structure, now it's just, I get to play artistically and not even have to worry that much about sort of like, how does the story flow? Now, keep in mind though, that I still have to worry about that stuff, but just on an artistic level, not on a text-based level. So
that actually sounds liberating in some way.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I and this will make sense, but the book that I'm working on has this rhyme structure, and it's a strange. I consider it a little bit of a strange rhyme structure, and because of that, every spread has the same rhyme structure on it. And when I talked to the art director about it before we started the project, he said, well, maybe we put all of the text in the same corner every single time, and that way you don't have to design around the text. Like, you just don't even have to think about it. You can just basically play on an image. And I was like, oh, that sounds fun. Now, of course, I didn't follow through with that. Now I'm actually like doing lots of variables that the text is in different locations, but it always is a singular text block. And so I don't have to worry about splitting things up and doing odds and ends with it galley-wise. But him saying that was like, oh, that's true. Like, if you look at, you must know the work of John Clausen at this point.
Maybe I do. Yes, I think I do.
I want my hat back.
Oh, yes.
And he's known for, like, visually, he's known for putting his text at the bottom of the page in its own little bar at the bottom.
Oh.
So it's not part of the image. And then that means when he makes an image, he doesn't have to worry about sort of like where the text fits. He can just make a cool image.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of rewarding. I like that idea, but I'm so used to putting text in with the image that it's hard for me to like let go of that idea of moving the text around. But I don't even know how I got on this topic. I got on this topic.
Yeah.
But just that idea of sometimes not having to think as much about the text and think about designing and whatnot, and just making art is kind of fun when you remove that element of being the composer of said text.
To be honest, that sounds fun.
At some point, someone's going to come to you and go, here's the story that I've written, and you're going to go, this thing's genius. I can envision it. I can see where it goes. And then you're off to the races.
Let's see.
You don't trust it. You don't see it. You don't have the vision yet. It'll happen. I don't know how many spots a pickle has. But I'm drawing my pickle now.
Oh, nice.
As one does.
Pickle.
What?
Nice
Yeah.
pickle.
I'm trying to get the color so it feels like it's in the same range, roughly, as what we're getting.
Pretty cool. I should have done a sketch. I've been doing just lots of stuff.
But see, now that's something that I don't understand how you do that, because this is sketching to me. This is totally sketching, and I don't sketch on paper beyond like a 2-second thing, and then I just make something. But as I make, I like to play. And so, like, I love watching people who like just can sketch and sketch and sketch. So you must be I've already gotten the sense that you're a sketchbook person.
I do have a sketchbook, but I'm not religious about it. As I say, I'm mostly about writing these days. I'm more religious about writing in my journal.
But what I mean by that, though, is you are someone who actually draws in a sketchbook or writes in a journal, or you like something that's bound. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I like that. I like creating a little book and then having the book to show up for a period of time.
I'm someone who, like, at most will put the work that I make into a sketchbook, and then I rip it out.
Wow.
And it's not because I don't like sketchbooks. It's physically I like to have it like as its own little object, and I also throw them away.
Oh yeah, you throw them away?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to keep all of them.
I never throw anything.
So your place is filled with random sketches.
Yeah.
And where do your children sleep? Do they have it
in their own rooms?
Yeah. Their bed is made out of old sketches, and their blankets are just a big drawing pad they pull up on them at the end of the night.
Something like that, yeah. But I used to find it really hard, even a napkin. Like if I drew on a napkin, I'm like, you know what I was telling you at the beginning, that you're like, what if I run out of ideas? I know I won't run out of ideas because I don't throw anything away.
Look to the left, look to the right, and there they are.
Yeah. If I never had another idea, because I say every single like sketch and little drawing and everything, and I have these books, like I feel like I could find ideas there for the rest of my life, and that's a very relaxing feeling. But then I'm always worried that what if they burn down or something? Hopefully not. But
yeah.
I'm worried about that. What am I gonna do? But then I'm like, I know I will write about the fire.
I have a question for you. It's totally tangential. It has nothing to do with anything we're talking about right now, but I meant to ask it right up front.
Oh.
So obviously, like, we know your work, and then on top of that, Eric Fan wrote and said, hey, you should have Ani on. How do you know Eric Fan?
I love Eric Fan. So I went to...
He's not the island person, is he?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
He's a very, very darling, beloved friend of mine.
Okay.
So we went to a party. That's how we met. There is a writer here in Toronto. His name is Kenneth Opel. And he lives in a beautiful house in a really cool area called High Park here in Toronto.
Okay.
And he invited us both to a New Year's party, and that's how I met him. He was there, and then we started chatting away, and then we became really good friends. And then my children were there, and they were complaining that they were tired, and then I had to leave.
Your memory totally, was this like...
And I was like, guys, I'm having the best party of my life. Please, let me stay. And they're like, no, we need to sleep. We're bored.
Were they really young at the time, or is this recent?
They were 16 and 12, so not young at all. So they were like, guys, it's New Year's Eve. Please give me the gift of patience. And they're like, no, we need to sleep. And I had to leave. But then I saw Eric for lunch or something. And then, we sometimes go for lunch and stuff, and we talk about books.
Gotcha.
And we talk about what we're working on. And he's very lovely. Do you know him?
I don't know him personally. I know, we follow each other on Instagram, or we've chatted. I've tried to have him on here a few times, but he's a little shy of going on live to work. And so if you can convince him at some point.
Because he told me like, imagine like drawing live. How could I do that? And I said the same thing. I don't know if I could do it. Oh, there he is. Whoops. Hi, Eric.
Yeah, he's crying. He's I don't know if it's a happy cry. I can't tell, the emoticon or the emoji is so small. But it's okay.
He's laughing.
Okay.
Hi, Eric.
There you go. So can you verify? Is it hard to? I mean, obviously the first bit of it can be challenging, and can be hard to work and draw and talk at the same time. But do you feel comfortable with it now?
I'm getting used to it, and I got drawing this little character, but I feel like I've been just I don't know. I've been making really look at this weird thing that I made. It's like a green cat.
Keep in mind,
what the hell?
I am drawing, or I'm making a hamburger who's showing off his butt to a pickle. We're not that far off. I would almost say that your work is much more elegant and interesting than burger buns. So I check your attitude at the door. There's so many great folks that it's interesting to me that they come on here and they have that initial reaction of I'm scared, I don't know what to say, I'm not sure how to talk and make at the same time, and I understand it's not like I'm oblivious to the fact, but so many people come on and at the end are just we're just chatting away and we're having a good old time. Eric, if you are listening, my wife's saying yes, Eric Fan should be. If you have any interest, I will no, this sounds wrong. I was about to say I'll ease you into the process.
Wow.
I'll make it easy on you. I don't like that phrasing. I don't like that at all. Today in class, a student said something about the what is it, the flavor umami? And then I said, we were talking about how that's a weird word, and then I went, ooh, mommy. And they all said, no, never do that again in my life. And so I don't like saying I'll ease you into it, just like I don't like saying, ooh, mommy.
Well,
it's late. It's
sounds,
late in the show.
It sounds nice and gentle.
I don't like that either. There's something wrong. about what's going
If that's
on.
what you're going for,
Yeah, no, this is
going nice and gentle.
Yeah, this is too
with
far.
Our friend Eric. I don't know.
Scaring off everybody at this point.
But I agree that Eric should be here because he's pretty magical creature.
His work is insane, and like every book that comes out, we're floored by. And I say we, meaning my wife and I, because she is the superstar when it comes to hunting down new books, and she is very, very good at that. Being a nice person, horrible at that. But hunting down new books, oh boy. See, that's the kind of joke that I make at late at night now. I forget what I was going to ask.
It is late at night, and in fact, I should be looking at my children because they should be put to bed. Actually,
they're buried underneath a bunch of sketches at this point. They've fallen asleep and are going to wake up with charcoal and pencil on their face.
That was really great, actually.
Did you, out of curiosity, I'll let you go here in 1 second, but I need to ask a question. Did you go to art school proper, or did you go, like, how did you learn the art side of things? We didn't even broach that.
I actually studied, first I went to art school, but then it was really terrible in Guadalajara. It was really, 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 really terrible. Okay. Like, I don't know why at the time, maybe because, university is free in Mexico, and art school used to be the school that got the least amount of money, and the school was really bad. So I would have loved to study art, but it was so bad that I quit, and then I started communication.
Okay.
And that's actually what I studied. I didn't study art very well, but when I was a child, when I was 6 years old, my dad started taking me to painting classes with a teacher that taught in his attic, and he taught adults. But my dad was like, please teach my daughter. She's really into painting. She's always painting. So my dad started taking me there in his bike every Saturday, and it was a whole day. It was like an apprenticeship. Apprenticeship with this like painter who lived off his painting, and he taught adults. So I was a 6-year-old child surrounded by adults every Saturday for 6 years, and it was my favorite thing because I used to like paint oils and stuff, and then the adults used to talk about romance and stuff, and I was so excited about it because I had never heard about that stuff. So.
Is that where you learned about that? I forget what the guy's name is from the telenovelas.
Gael Garcia.
Yeah. You're like, ooh, tell me more about him.
No, he was a child. I'm telling you, he was a child.
Oh, that's true. That's
true.
No, adults talking about that way, wrong.
It'll be weird.
The reason I ask that question, especially so late at night, is because when I mentioned that your kids are waking up with pencil marks on their face and things of the sort, there is a era in which going through art school, in particular, like working with charcoal and stuff, we used to call it the black snot, where like you get so much in your lungs, and like they're like right now I have so much paint all over my hands and glue everywhere, and it's I'm surprised I don't have any on my shirt at this point, but it is the mark of an artist when you walk away at the end of the day and your hands are smudged. Like I'm imagining you're working with pencil, you probably have smudges on the bottom of your hand right now, right?
Usually, yes. Oh, not so much, but it's so funny that you say that because my daughter she was painting her pants, and then the next day she was so full of painting her nails that she had just done, and she's like, oh no, I ruined my nails, and I'm like, no, you actually made yourself look like an artist, and I think that's something to be proud of, being full of paint. It's a wonderful thing. There is a scene in the movie Little Woman that Joe has her fingers like covered in ink, and somebody guesses that she's a writer. And I always thought that was so cool. And that's why, like, because I also, when I'm using these pens, the fountain pens, I get ink in my fingers very often. And I'm very excited about it because I'm like, that way people know that I'm a writer, like a little woman.
It's cool. It's cool until it's like the third day after you've had it, and you miss it when you're showering, and you walk in and people go, "Oh, you had that paint on your hand yesterday, and you still haven't washed it off." That's when it's not cool. That's in my experience.
I still think it's cool because it could be a new stain.
Yeah, yeah.
In the exact same
It's like
place. The
tattoo
exact
at
same
that
color.
point. You've shown off how amazing your ability to I don't know, like put symbols and icons across your body that look like splotches of paint. Okay, I know it's late. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna switch my camera back
Oh,
to
let's
this
see.
beautiful mug. This is this is that cool looking guy who loves Nintendo 64.
So many things.
Yeah. I really knew how to woo the ladies with that and Skid Row tapes.
I'm telling you, you did lunch together. You called her on the phone. You gave her a tape. That is honestly very advanced dating, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I'll agree. Yes. But this has been a wonderful evening. I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I've laughed quite a bit.
Me too.
Yeah, and I hope that I wasn't poking and prodding too much.
I'm glad. No, I like it. I'm telling you. My book is about dating. Can you imagine the adventures you're gonna see there? It's gonna be something.
It's when does the book come out?
Oh my gosh, it's gonna take years.
This has not been out on submission or anything of the sort. Like it's not.
Oh no, it is already submitted with Penguin Random
Okay.
House. I'm working with Penguin Random House Canada, so it is going to be like a. Look, this is from a time when I was dating a guy in Mexico, and then I ended up living in a hostel downtown Guadalajara by myself, and it was like I'm just getting to tell the stories that I've lived in my life that are insane. Like one day I just started living in a hostel with besides sex workers and old people, and I was dating this guy who was a photographer, and I was trying to escape from my house. And look, he used to bring me food. Like, he used to bring me food to my very, very disgusting hostel full of cockroaches. So
I'm gonna have to mention this to a student of mine who is interested in doing kidlit, but also has been journaling in their online dating world. And some of it is very disturbing and challenging and whatnot. But they'd like to make a book about something like that at some point. And so this would be a great resource for them to see that like it is feasible to write something and make something that has like, again, your character. It's not you. It's you, but it's not a like realism aspect. You're this like you're an icon of you. That's
a little blob.
Yeah, and so it sort of changes things. All right, well, I will say thank you again. There's lots of people that I don't know if you've noticed, but there's lots of people that have hopped on to say great things about your comic strip back in the day and say they love your work and things of this sort.
Somebody asked me, what is my favorite caricature and my favorite cartoon? So, there is a cartoonist that I really love that is called Hyperbole and a Half. I love her. Have you heard about her? Hyperbole and a Half. She used to have a blog like 10 years ago, but now she has books. And I think she's brilliant. So brilliant. The writing is so good.
Familiar, but I'd have to see it in order to know off the top of my head. But the Hyperbole, maybe I'm thinking something else, but Hyperbole, I feel like there was something that I used to read that had that in the title, but I'd have to go back and look.
So
but,
it's people like friends from Guadalajara. Hi, my friends. Thank you for being here. Gracias por estar aquí.
They show up. And how dare they? Yeah. You've been on all night.
They missed out this terrible painting. So
they're good paintings. What's wrong with you?
I don't even know what's going on. Look, it's like a cat. I don't know what he's doing.
It's a cat ghost. It's a gelatinous cat that shows up. Like I said,
I guess so.
again, I'm making a hamburger with a butt and a pickle.
That one looks amazing. I love it. Wow.
It's we're not doing highly educated stuff tonight. So I will say though, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. I have thoroughly enjoyed this, and we are now internet friends for life. And
Yeah.
if I ever run into you at any of the conferences or anything of the sort, feel free to run over and push me over and laugh in my face. It's okay. I'll accept it. I'll accept my fate. But this has really been fun, and I can't say thank you enough for joining me tonight.
Oh, this was so special. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I loved it. And now I know I can do this. Maybe I can do Twitch now.
You can. I mean, even if it's not live, setting up the camera and recording your process. That's even that is, I know some people are hesitant of doing that, but like, people want to see you work. And so the more you do this kind of stuff, and the more you get out there and chat it up. And it's exciting,
and it's new. I've never done it, so even that new adventure. Thank you so much, and we should get Eric here.
Okay, yeah. You put in good words for me.
Yeah.
tell him he can get a Skid Row tape if he wants one.
I'll tell him.
All right.
He's very sweet. You'll see.
All right. You have a lovely evening, and I will talk to you later.
So nice to meet you. Have a good night.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye.
And now we stare. There we go. I noticed that Levius Trisbell says, Annie, you are so beautiful, but I'm just sitting here. It's me. Okay, folks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue working. I don't have a ton that I got to do on this piece, but I do need to do all the type. And I was thinking about hand illustrating that, which is going to be a pain. But this is, I'm going to switch back down to my downshoot. So this is my my Valentine's Day piece. And for anybody that doesn't know what it is, it's going to say, feast your eyes on those toasty buns. And it's a pickle talking to a hamburger that happens to have a bootay. And so I need to enhance the bootay with some shadows and things of the sort. But I will switch back down and continue this for the night. And so what happens now is, as I continue, if you have any questions, I'm going to switch to Ask Us Anything to a Ask Me Anything, because it's only little old me now. Let's see, anything. And you can ask away, and I'll be happy to answer the best I can. Mark, I'm about to drive home from hockey. Tell us a story. Okay, Andy. Also, Andy, I don't know if you saw the email real quick with, I forget what her name is that works at your school, that I'm going to come in, and I mentioned that, for anybody who doesn't know Andy, AJ Smith on here is Andy Smith, who is a Kidlit illustrator and author, does amazing work. Go look at his work. But he also is a high school art teacher, and so I'm going to go visit his class. But my admissions group said, hey, can you go in there and also like talk about Montserrat? So I'll do a little bit of that. Shh, don't tell the students. But I'm assuming it's the same students. So anyways, we can talk about that later. But I will tell you a story. I need to think of a good story though. I'm trying to think of like if there's a fun story that I can tell you. First of all, let me switch back down to my shoot, and then I will get that set up, and then I will work and see if I can remember a good story from like I'm assuming Andy is looking for a real story, not a fake story. Riz details. Ooh, okay. Someone, what did we call it today? Okay, here, I'll tell you some RISD stories that are, I don't even know if these are stories. I will tell you some pranks that I tell my students. And so if any of my students are listening, I say some of these to students that we used to do, and they are, I will, well, I don't know. Do I want to tell those stories? I don't know if I want to tell those stories. I'm trying to think of like the different years and the things that we did and the things that were challenging. Okay, I'll tell you some like art ones, and then I'll tell you some pranks, and I'll tell you some things that happened that were kind of silly. So while I was at RISD, this was the late 90s, mid to late 90s, somewhere in there. I graduated in the year 2000. So it was a time where we didn't have a lot of internet. We had to find ways to entertain ourselves. And the way that I entertained myself was being a wise guy in a lot of situations. And so one of the things that my friends and I would do is like practical jokes and goof around, just be nonsensical, and that makes it sound like better than it actually is. Nonsensical is I don't like that term. I also don't like what I just put down with ink there, or with paint. So I got to get that up before it dries. I like it in certain situations, but not this one. So I can get that up and fix that. The art ones. So I had a amazing teacher, Mary Jane Began. She is a kidlit author, or I think she's authored a few things. Illustrator. She runs a MFA program in children's literature and picture books and things of the sorts. She was my teacher for this class that was called Colorworks at the time. And it was really just a class that was focused on color and how to use color effectively and how to make color really shine in your work, essentially. Pretty straightforward when I boil it down like that. She is, if anybody doesn't know who she is, one of the best things I can say is she illustrated, there's a image for Sleepy Time Tea, which features a bear, I think, walking through a field of tons and tons and tons of flowers. Not Sleepy Time Tea. What is that called? What's that brand? Celestial Seasonings? Something like that. And she was the one that illustrated that. And so that's like, when I was a student, I was like, oh man, this is so cool. I don't even drink tea, but I remember at the time thinking like, that's so cool that she worked on these tea boxes. She did this class really as a, like, how to use color, how to think about color. And when I was a student, I did a lot of dumb stuff. Like, I don't mean dumb stuff in like I ran around and was an idiot, but like the type of work that I did, I didn't really think about stuff. I just made things and hoped for the best. And so like the equivalent of, she brought in models one day for us to draw from, and she gave these really colorful backgrounds and things of the sort behind. And then most people drew these like really beautiful, like rendered pieces of, what the models look like, etc. And what I did is I turned them into people trapped on a boat and someone flying through the air above them trying to rescue them. And they were done in this weird cartoony style and things of the sort. And I remember thinking like, oh man, she's going to be so upset when she walks around and sees what I'm doing, because I'm not following orders of some sort. And of course she walks around and is like, oh, interesting. And that was it. And so like I had put all this pressure on myself to somehow think that I had to do what she was asking everybody else to do and whatnot. And it was fine. But I had a roommate at the time, who shall remain nameless, who she gave us this assignment where we were supposed to do, like, if you know her work or you look at her work, again, Mary Jane Began, it's pretty easy to go spot. She is very, very good at detail. And at the time she was doing this thing where she would take, and she may still do this, but she would take watercolor and mix it with acrylic medium, something like this, whether it be matte medium or gloss medium, and create her own sort of transparent acrylics, sort of pigment in polymer, essentially, and paint with it little tiny brush strokes. So she would have something like this, like a little tiny, what is this? This is a 18-0 brush, and she would paint every little bit of fur and all these things on the work, and it was always amazing to see all the detail. And then she had us do something of that sort for an assignment, and I think it was that course, and I totally did not follow I I totally did not follow instructions, and I did a piece that was much more loose and goofy, and I think I did like pictures of. I did this thing where like I drew on paper, created these Xeroxes of it on watercolor paper, and then watercolored and added polymer or medium, and then like splashed color on, and like did these things that were so far beyond what I think was introduced to us in a class. And my roommate, who had her the previous year in that class, came back to me and just said, like, you're going to have to redo those. Those are not what she's asking for. And I remember thinking, like, oh man, this sucks. I'm going to have to redo this thing. And I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And part of it was just I didn't pay attention. Part of it is I didn't know what I was doing. And part of it was I was being a bit rebellious. And then the day of the class, I put it up there thinking, like, I'm going to get torn apart in this crit because I didn't follow the rules. And I remember I put it up and she just kind of went, oh, that's cool. And that was it. And I remember thinking, like, oh, wait a second. I can, like, school was not about me trying to follow rules. It was about me trying to, like, create my own voice. And everybody seemed to be okay with that. And I had put all this pressure on myself to somehow, you know, follow a script. And then when I found that out, that's when I started doing weird stuff and started having more fun with, like, you know, doing images, not necessarily images like this, but images that had a sillier content. And so if I won't show them on here because I save them for my students as a reward for the last day of class, where I show them all the work that I did in college. And there is some stuff in that, in my portfolio that I show them that is just absolutely, like, not necessarily out there, but like there's no reason why I did the work and it doesn't make any sense, and yet I still did it. And so I will show that to the students, and they'll probably go, like, what are you thinking? I will tell you, one of them involves bald men sitting on wooden stumps. I won't go into much more than that. Oh, my wife says that Mary Jane visited class. Oh, I think I knew that. And so there's something like that. Then some sillier, weird stories. One of the things that, one of the memories that I have when I was in school, especially freshman year. Oh, I'll tell you a prank. We'll start with a prank. Okay. Don't hate me for this, people. I was young. We were turds. Let's put it that way. And so when I say this, don't sit there and go, like, oh man, I've lost all faith in you as a person. We used to do these pranks that were mean-spirited to each other, especially. And so I'll tell you two of them. One of them was what we called, well, no, I'll save that one for last. It's the good one. There's this thing called alginate. If you've ever had a mold made of your teeth at the dentist, essentially that is alginate. It's that, like, really fast setting mold making powder that they mix with water, and it makes a really quick mold of whatever you're trying to make a mold of. And so there was lots of, like, freshman year, we could get that. And I think at the time you had to be in the world of dentistry in order to get your hands on it. Nowadays, I think you can order it a little bit easier than what you did at the time. But we got some of that, and we figured out that if you mix it with things, it stays sort of gelatinous, like it's rubbery. And if you mix it with stuff that's extra wet, it sort of stays glistening and wet for a long time. And so what we did is someone had chocolate ice cream or something of the sort. My guess is we were vegan straight edge at the time, so my guess is it was probably Ben & Jerry's, like vegan, or it was some like fudge brownie thing they had that was vegan. They don't make it anymore. And we mixed that with the alginate, and we shaped it into what looked like a giant turd. And then we lived on the floor where the vending machines were, and it was those vending machines that has the opening at the bottom. And so what we would do is we'd get it wet with some water so it was kind of slimy. and then you put it in the vending machine there. So when someone comes in to pick something from the vending machine, it falls down into that little area, and you reach down in there and you feel for the item, because it's not, it's not convenient to like open it up and look for it. It's something you have to reach for. And so we intentionally would put this in there, so when people put their hands in, what they got instead was what felt like a giant turd that they're putting their hands in. And we thought it was hilarious, and we did it at least a couple of times. And then the one that I saved, and this one's something that I'm not even sure who came up with it, but I did it as a project for, there's a guy named Robert Brinkerhoff, who has had a major role at RISD. He was one of my teachers my senior year, and he taught a graphic design for illustrators class that I really loved. And even at the time, it made me think I want to be a graphic designer. And we have this book that I made for, I had to make books for the class, and I made this like series of accordion books. And one of them was this subject. And I think there were students for years afterwards that were like, oh, you're the guy that did that. And it's based on a prank that we used to do called the pillow refart. And I'm sorry, these are both crude. I'm not that sorry. Honestly, I'm really not that sorry. But the pillow refart is the idea that pillows have air in them. And if you time it right, you can do this trick. So if you know someone's going to bed soon, what you do is, if you have one loaded in the chamber, you go sit on their pillow, and as you fart, you stand up. And the pillow is going from a compressed state to an expanded state, and thus needs to suck air in. Now, if you time it right and you're able to stand up at the appropriate time, you can get your cloud of nastiness to get sucked into the pillow. Now, once you know it, if the person comes back to bed shortly thereafter, and I'm talking, a few minutes afterwards, and puts their head down on that pillow, well, guess what the head does? It compresses that pillow back down and pushes out some of that air. And so effectively, you can be out of the room by that point and doing something else, and they lay their head down on a pillow and envelop their head within a cloud of your festivities. Let's put it that way. And so it was a thing that we called the pillow refart, and we try to do it on people all the time. And I thought it was very, very fun. But I will tell you, the best prank that I ever did, in my opinion, and I don't know if he'll watch this, but my roommate Rob, my senior year, I think, I did this prank on him. And it was it's not a super hard prank to do, but I thought it was really, really funny. Wherein, I'm not even drawing, I'm just talking pranks now. Wherein I went into his room. We were doing pranks on each other just in general for a bit, pretty standard pranks. And there was this, oh, you got me. You put some, you short sheeted me or whatever. Like, that was the kind of pranks that we were expecting. And so I went into this kid's room. And what I did is I did some pretty basic, prank things to mess with him. So automatically, he knows that there's some pranks happening. Like the equivalent of I would, put aluminum foil underneath the sheet. So when he sat down on his bed, he'd be all crinkly and whatnot. Hilarious, right? But what really the prank was, is I went through his, what I really did, Lauren, I did not come up with the pillow refart. That was my friend Pat. He's the one that was I don't even know if he invented it, but Pat was a very fun person. Let's put it that way. But the trick to this Rob's one was, it wasn't the classic thing. What I did is I also went in his room and I replaced things and moved things around really subtly. So the equivalent of, he had some tacks holding up posters, and one set of poster had something, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it would be the equivalent of the poster that had a white border had white tacks in it, and the poster that had a black border had black tacks in it. And I switched the tacks out. So the only thing that changed, it wasn't the poster, it would be the tacks. Or he had a pair of black Adidas with white stripes and a pair of white Adidas with black stripes. And I would go in and I would just switch those around. He was also an industrial design major. And so he had to do lathe work, metal work, and make these spherical balls out of metal on a lathe. And he had them in this little display case, and they went from the biggest down to the smallest in ascending order or descending order in his little display case. And I flipped it so it went from smallest to biggest. And so I did all these things like this all around his room, like probably about 30 of them, as many as I could come up with. And why this practical joke was so good was he came home and he's like, oh, you guys put aluminum foil on my bed, or whatever, whatever the joke was. And he thinks that we got him. And then like 20 minutes later, you hear him go, did you guys switch my shoes? And we all start giggling. And then, another half hour later, did you change the tacks on my poster? And of course, it's these things that are not like critical, but just this like messing with the person. And I remember this like creating this environment wherein he didn't know, nor did I know, when he would discover these things. And they could be at any point in time. It would be, I don't know if this happened, but in my memory, it'd be like the equivalent of like the next week. We'd hear him go, did you guys do this? Or did you do that? And we would just laugh and laugh and laugh because it was so funny that we had like caused this weird paranoia or this like sense of delay from the person because we had set it up that way. And so to me, that is a funnier practical joke because it's not the in-your-face practical joke. It's just like messing with someone over time. And so I was very, very proud of that one. Okay, other RISD stories. I don't know if I have a ton of RISD stories. I will share with you the pillow refart again. If you have someone that you need to get back, the danger is pink eye. Stink eye, pink eye. You don't want that. There were other things that we did. There was a time where freshman year, we were on what was called Homer basement, or a Homer. It was the basement level of the dorm that we were in, and that meant that we had the lounge, but we also had the laundry on that level, and we had the vending machines and things like that. And the laundry was down the hall, which was convenient because if you just needed to go grab laundry, you could go grab it. But it was also a time where people were learning how to, do the laundry. They potentially had not done it before. And so oftentimes there'd be some laundry that was sitting there for some time. Teacher Marin, what is RISD? Rhode Island School of Design. That's the college that I went to. It's sort of a top tier art college that's been around for some time. I need to figure out if I want to do the text. I've been sitting here this whole time and haven't done the text. People would put their laundry in, forget about it, and then their laundry would sit there. Someone would pull it out and put it in like a pile somewhere, and then they would throw their clothes in the dryer and keep going and whatnot. And so also when we were freshmen, I don't even know if they still do this nowadays, but they gave us a little kit. So it's very gendered, so bear with it. This was the time and the era, but they would give the guys a little kit that had like shaving cream and a razor and deodorant and whatnot. And I don't know what the ladies got because I didn't get one. But in it came this little can of shaving cream. And what we did is we had this shaving cream war where my friends and I were out in the hallway just hosing each other down because we found out that like it wasn't just like it would shoot out as foam, it was the gel kind. So it would shoot out really far and then foam up. And so we were in the hallway having essentially a water gun war, but with shaving cream. And so we did this for, 10 minutes or however long that lasted. We took as many of those cans from people and just had a good old time. The downside is that we did this and we were all coated, absolutely coated in shaving cream. And then we're like, oh man, we made a mess in the hallway. And we knew our RA, who is, for anybody that went to RISD, was Tall Paul, who I mentioned last week. A guy named Paul Hayes, who is a fabulous sort of sculptural paper artist now. And you can go find him out there. I think he's Raining Chainsaws on Instagram. He was our RA, and we were worried that he is going to come back and essentially be very upset with us for making a mess of said hallway that he's in charge of. And what we did to clean up is we went and found one of those piles of laundry that had been sitting there for a week that no one has claimed, and said, hey, those would make great towels to clean up the hallway. And so we cleaned up the hallway, and it was probably even more than a week. It was probably stuff that had been sitting there for maybe 2-3 weeks. You know, so like, who is this person that came down and did laundry and just left it? And so we're like, we're going to use that and clean up all the shaving cream. And so we went through and cleaned up all the shaving cream. And at the same time, we were absolutely covered in shaving cream head to toe, because we had spent time just, you know, plastering ourselves with shaving cream. And so I was walking out from my room, like in a towel with my little shower caddy or whatever you want to call that, you know, little basket of things, covered in shaving cream. And then I hear down the hallway, and I won't swear the same way that using the message box here. Okay, I'll see what that message says here in a second. I gotta get up to my phone to see what it says. But covered in the stuff, and I hear someone yelling down the hall, who the blank blank did this to my laundry? And of course, it was the one time out of nowhere that this person who had never ever cleaned up their laundry in weeks came down and found that it was covered in shaving cream and completely like a mess. And I remember running back into my room because I was afraid I was going to get like, I mean, it was going to be pretty obvious when she saw me, and I had shaving cream all in my hair and in my face and whatnot. And we ended up hiding out in our room until we kept, my friend who was in the room down the hall, we would call each other and be like, oh, do you think she's gone? And eventually was able to go shower and whatnot. And to be honest, you know, all it was she had to rewash her clothes, and it probably smelled wonderful in the hallway. But we were idiots like that quite often. Let's put it that way. Let me see if someone said they have a message. They sent me a different way. So let me see if I can figure out what that is. So the message says, I'm struggling. Oh, someone's saying a very nice thing, that they've been struggling with depression since they were a kid, and that my work is really helping them. Well, thank you. That's a very nice statement. I hope that my silliness sort of helps in that manner. So what I've decided, just so everybody knows, I'm going to try I'm not going to do it on this. This is something that you don't ever really see on here, because I oftentimes am hesitant to do this on the live feed. But rather than putting the type on the piece, because I want this to be sort of a semi-Valentine's image, I might end up doing the type in a different manner. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm making a couple different swatches. One of them is I'm making swatches so I can scan these in and cut out with digitally and make letter forms, so I can put them in there in different colors. So it says feast your eyes on those toasty buns. Could say tasty buns, which is even, I don't know. Lauren, are you listening right now? Should it say tasty buns or toasty buns? Okay, did I already ask about that? Because they're so close, I just said tasty instead. That it could be that if we wanted. But shoot, what was I saying? Where was I going with this? What? Yeah, should. Okay, see, that's a good idea. Tasty. Someone says tasty. I mean, originally it was going to say, look at those toasty buns. But now I think it should say either look at those taste, or then it became feast your eyes on those toasty buns, but it could say feast your eyes on those tasty buns, which is also kind of funny in its own right. So if you all have a preference, whether you want toasty, tasty, or I forget what the other one that I had was that I thought about. I don't want to do cheeks, but yeah, if you have a preference, I can put that into it. So I'm just making little swatches so I can go in and like cut out letter forms and then put it in here. But what I want to do is, I'm afraid if I do it right now, I've sort of composed this in a way that is okay, but the letter forms are going to be so small, and I might need to move them around to get them to fit nice. Feast and tasty. There you go. So tasty it is. There will be tasty buns. Here, I'll even change my sketch so it says tasty. Let's grab a colorful pencil. We'll change this out so it says tasty. Again, this is my sketch for the night. So what I'll do is I will prep this board so I can do the type later. I might do a little hand lettering real quick just to see what it looks like. And then I need to ground them so there's some little plane underneath, but it'll be relatively simple tonight. But I feel like there was some other RISD story I was going to tell. I can't think of it. What was it? Shoot. It wasn't a prank thing or anything of the sort. It was just sort of a fun sort of instance. Freshman year was a really silly time, and a lot of goofing off that we did. Sophomore year, I did a lot of weird nonsense stuff, but we used to like not prank call, but we would call our friend's phone and then just leave absolutely weird messages. In fact, Lauren, you will know this one, but Pat and I spent hours laughing and calling up our friend. In fact, that Rob guy that I mentioned before, and we would clap and sing, I took a shower with my raincoat on, da 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 da. I took a shower with my raincoat on, da 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 da. And it was hilarious. It was wonderful. And I'm sure no one understands or cares as much about that one, but I took a shower with my raincoat on became a very, very funny phrase for me at the time. And I don't know why, but those are the kind of things that I did sophomore year. And then junior year, I tried to be serious. I tried to be, not serious, but I wore a tie every day, and I wore, we'll go through the fashion real quick for a second for anybody that's still listening to this. Freshman year, I was 6'2" and 120 pounds, somewhere in there. So I was a stick. People would say I was so light that I would float away, but I could counter that by saying, no, I'm so skinny that the wind just goes around me. I can't ever catch me like a sail. And so I was so skinny, but what I would do, and the reason why I bring that up, is not to say, haha, I was a skinny kid, but more so to say that I wore size like 48 waist pants with a rope belt and shirts that were conferences that my dad went to. So it was like my dad would go to some like weird business conference and just give me a free shirt, and I'd be like, that's the shirt I'm wearing. And so it was a weird combination. On top of that, I had long hair that went down to the center of my back, curly long hair. And then I would wear, I don't even remember what I was wearing for shoes at the time. Probably like combat boots or something of the sort. Weird, absolutely weird combination. Didn't make any sense. And then sophomore year, I stopped wearing the giant pants, but I wore a lot of like loose, baggy clothing. I never wore shoes. I wore house slippers. Even in the winter, I would wear house slippers to class. I had shaved my head sophomore year. I went from having long hair down to the center of my back to completely bald because there was a a friend, Bill. Oh man, what was Bill's last name? I don't remember what his name was, but Bill was doing some video project where he was doing a version of Shakespeare or something like that. He needed someone to do this scene with fencing and needed someone that was bald in it. So I shaved my head bald. So a dramatic shift. And then junior year, I wore slacks, nice black dress up shoes, ties every day, and a black belt. And then senior year, I wore jeans, tiny t-shirts from Savers that had all sorts of things on them, like just weird, like almost kid-sized shirts. I think I used to shop in the kids section a little bit because I was so skinny. And then jean jacket, cowboy boots, a cowboy hat, a cowboy belt, and things of that sort. And that was my sort of go-to. And now I'm, obviously so fashionable and things of the sort, and it's not even a question of like how classy I am. But I was a mess of fashion through the years, just in general. And so that is my my reveal to everybody, is how awful my fashion choices were as I went along. There we go. That's the color I want. I'm trying to like put in some other nuance into some of the colors that show up on these things here. The black belt was not a karate belt. It was just a cheap, like fake leather belt. And for some reason, I remember it because I used it in a piece of artwork that shall remain nameless. But it was a strange piece. Let's put it that way. And I used to love that belt. But then, yeah, I got into cowboy stuff for a long time. And I wore that cowboy hat. I don't even know if I might have thrown that cowboy hat away. But yeah, I went through these weird phases of stuff. Yeah, my wife still wears a couple of my college shirts. One that a friend gave me that says Camp Hoffman on it. It's spelled wrong, but it says Camp Hoffman, and she has that. I won't fit in it anymore. I don't think I could. But she can. And then I'm trying to think. There probably is some other one that I have to look at. Some of them are post-school, though, Lauren, like the Nashua All-Stars and stuff like that I had. Those are just ones that I don't wear T-shirts anymore. I'm not a T-shirt person. I like me a good button-up shirt. That's my level of interest at this point. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to do here to this. Oh, yeah. Yes, in the early 2000s, I dressed like ketchup and mustard. I would wear old men's golf pants. And then I would wear old men's sweaters from Goodwill. Some of those are nice sweaters, like a Pierre Cardin sweater. It was very, very soft. But I would buy them in bright, vivid colors. And then I would match them. So like everybody says ketchup and mustard because one was bright yellow and one was bright red. And so it looked like I wore ketchup and mustard. And it was hilarious. Yeah, I made some choices. Look at me now. Okay. I think this is probably done. Mark has 36,099 plaid panel shirt. I have the same number of t-shirts. I don't have that many, but I do have a lot of flannel. I find, and this is my excuse, and it is sort of true, but flannel does shrink over time, but I also grow over time. And so there's a lot of shirts that like the sleeves, I'm a long-armed fellow. And so the first thing that happens is I end up with shirts that don't go all the way down to my hands. So that's what I end up rolling my sleeves up quite often because of that. And then also they height-wise, they shrink. And so all of a sudden a shirt that would cover my waist all of a sudden like is creeping up higher and higher in the process. And so I'm a little bit mindful of that, and I will go get new shirts periodically to replace the change in height and things of that sort of those shirts. But some of them just get small in the width. Sometimes I wear all bright red. Crop tops are in. Ooh! Little old me in a crop top. I don't think anybody wants to see that. Okay, let's do some lettering. Let's see if I can do some of these, like, feast your eyes on. So I might do something like... feast. Let's get that a little bit better there. And then let's do another. I'm trying a couple of different things. Feast your eyes on. Okay, we're getting there. Let's see. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is in different versions. Right now is I'm going to do it in this font, and I'm going to try a couple other fonts, and then digitally I'll do some and figure out what sort of works the best. But those, I don't know why I'm spelling it out. You can see it all. Tasted. Get that up a little bit higher. Buns. Okay, so that's one version. What I'm gonna do is cut that. That's a clean version. Boom, boom, boom. So I can scan that. Now, let's go see if I do some other variables. I can do a, oh, that just broke on me. That's not cool. Maybe I'll do it with some markers. Yeah, so Andy, what I sent you, just real quick, no one needs to worry about this, but my school, Montserrat, you know the school, wanted to do, I guess someone at your school, I'd have to go back and look at the name. I want to say Mary? I don't remember who it was. Someone, art teacher there, had requested a workshop from Montserrat to come do a little workshop for the school as a sort of admissions event. And I said, I'm already going on the 10th, and I'd be happy to sort of combine the two and talk about sort of college and what it's like at Montserrat while we do the workshop, etc. That's the one. And so the contact person that my school had was her. I had you as a contact person, and so I guess there were some emails back and forth just to say, hey, Mark's already coming on this date. Why don't we just have the conversation then? It's for the AP students, which I assume are the same students. If it's not, I'm happy to entertain more in the situation, but they needed someone to go in around the same time, and I was already going in, and it seemed silly not to sort of have that connected. So if that doesn't work, let me know, and I'm happy to, like, if you'd rather keep it separate, I'm happy to talk to the school and sort of change things up. That's a horrible F. I don't like that F. Let's see. Let's try a different marker. Ooh, no, that's a big chunker. I don't want that big chunk. I want something that has not a bullet tip. There we go. I want a. Got it. Oh, there you go. So Andy, it's a matter of I'm just gonna kill two birds with one stone, if that's kosher. And so I can talk. I don't have to like be Montserrat, but if I will bring some stuff, and so if students have questions, I'm happy to answer of any sort. So I want to see what happens if I. Okay, that'll work. Let's try that. Let's try a bigger board though for this. So let's try this. So we'll do. Ooh, that's ugly. I don't like that S. There we go. That's a little better. Oh, there you go, chunky. Ugh. No, I don't like that. Okay, let's try this again. Let's try. Nope. Nope. Try it again. Let's try. Okay. Nope, I don't like that either. It's hard. That's fine, Andy. The idea of the National Art Honor Society, which is a mix of 9 to 12, will probably be AB kids in there. That's totally fine. I think the idea of just going and doing a workshop is what they were looking for, and so I'm happy to entertain any and all students and talk about sort of my career and what I do and about going to art school and anything and everything. You know, I like to talk, and so I'm happy to entertain all of that. Toasty, no. Let's try. I'm trying to figure out if there is any other like fonts that I want to play with. Yeah. I might need to just do it digitally and call it a day. I mean, we're coming up on that time. Does my school have a mascot? We do actually. Since it's Montserrat, it is close to Monster Rat, and so our mascot is a 3. Right now, they change out the mascot every couple of years. They have a student redesign and sort of put forward their own version of it, but it is a Monster Rat. It was right now it's a 3-eyed rat essentially. Let's see, Andy, we can catch up on that soon. Was glad to catch your farty prank stories. I'm home from hockey in dire need of a shower, so I'm signing off. Have a great night. Well, thank you, Andy, for joining. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do, everybody. I'm gonna end. So right now I have at least this. Feast your eyes on those tasty buns. Yeah, there we go. You know what I might want to add to this, just in case, as a precaution. Maybe I will do this. Sharpen this pencil real quick. Hopefully that doesn't break. Okay. Oh, of course it breaks. Prismacolor. Breaky pencils. There we go. I'm going to do one more version of buns. But I'm going to add one thing. A little punctuation. And so if I need to, I can implement that at that time. Okay, so let's clean up some of this mess. I will put up my normal black boards. You can see what stuff looks like. without a bunch of mess around it, and we will call it a night. Let me get all this stuff out of the way as much as I can. Get my yellow marker over here. Get these out of the way. Thank you, Alicia Nash, for joining. I know you join quite often. I appreciate you tuning in. There we go. Get this up there. That's an old sketch. Don't need it. So here's the piece I made for the night. This is a character that I drew it was a doodle I drew for a book. It has nothing to do with a burger, but the shape that I drew reminded me of a hamburger bun. So I continue to draw the character and make a character that looks like a hamburger. And then I thought it was funny, he was called burger buns. And so this is the piece. I will zoom in. And right now, again, this is what we have. And there will be some text here that says, I might have to digitally extend this out so I can get a little bit more even and have the words in here. So it says, feast your eyes on those tasty buns. And that'll be coming from said little pickle. That's there. Oh, you know what? I didn't even put any ketchup on this. Do I need ketchup? Tell me if I need ketchup here. I could try to hint at, like, let's see, real quick. This could take a second, maybe, if I did this. Do I want to have something like some ketchup oozing on an edge? Okay, before y'all jump off, should I put ketchup in? Or tomato? Because this takes a second just to glue these down and call it a day. Does it help? Yes. It's just an extra level of burgerness. And I could give a little hat if I wanted to the little guy there. Let's see. So let me see what happens if I like a little something like that. Okay, that's easy enough. I can fix that within a second. Tomato would be cool. I don't know about tomato. Ketchup. Isn't ketchup actually a tomato to begin with? So, like, it's good enough. Isn't it like the same thing? All right, so we'll do this. And then what I'll do is I'll give the pickle a little hat as well. I'm actually going to cut that one. That's a little too much. Oh! My wife just burned me. She said, if you think that tomatoes and ketchup are the same thing, no wonder why your shirts keep getting small. Lauren, you know I don't even like ketchup. That was a good one. I like that you called me out. You try to keep it fresh. No, that's not true, Lauren. I also don't think that ketchup and tomatoes are the same thing. I know they're not. One of them has sugar in it. The other one, not so much. Natural sugars. Natural sugars. I'm going to give this guy a little, like, one hat like this. A little. I don't know. I just thought it looked fun. No intention. It's sort of, he's got cool style. I don't know. It was partially because I felt like it would get too confusing. I wanted to make a separation of the legs. So my wife asked, for anybody that doesn't know what's going on, why I'm talking to no one. She asked, why does he only have stripes on one leg? And one of the reasons is I want to highlight his butt. And if I put stripes on both of them, you'll probably get distracted and not understand that there's a separation there of cheeks. And so to me, visually, if I'm willing to put in some of these weird things anyways, why can't he have two variables for how his pants work? He has stripes on one side and solids on the other. That's it. That's the only reason, Lauren. Is that okay? She says, I guess so. That means she doesn't like it. I got to go up and solve that now, everybody. Ugh. Okay, that's it for the night. We're going to stop there. We got my little tomato with his, pickle with his little red hat, and my burger with his bootay. It's not as round and plump as what it was in the original sketch, but I'm okay with it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Like this is, I mean, look at that. Look at those cheeks. Those things is nasty. This one isn't as pronounced, but it's okay. All right. Y'all have a lovely evening. I will see you next week. Next week we have Kristen Sora on. And then I have to announce a whole another month's worth. It'll be very exciting. So y'all have a lovely evening. I will see you next week. Bye.